We do need to have a roll call.
Now call the Concord School Committee meeting to order. Roll call.
Anderson present.
Booth present.
Morano present.
Rainey present.
Wilson present. Okay.
Is that on?
I don't see.
Was
her.
on.
She
popped
was,
off.
and
Okay.
and now she's not. Yep. Okay, so let's start. Right. On the agenda. Is this, I think, yeah, we start with this. Yep. Hi, Darcy. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
What can you tell us about what's going on?
Oh yeah, so right now the school is focused on doing a bunch of things in Senate. Right now we're doing a Spirit Week, so we're going to have different Spirit Week activities leading up to November break. Well, we're also organizing a winter sports fair. And then we're also doing kind of different sports type activities. And I know government on the other side of things is doing a lot of different dances and spirit activities. And then overall, we're also looking at maybe, we're starting to make a list of different things we could see at maybe more at an administrative level, things that we could change. And that's something that we're working on because Senate is hoping to be a place where we could make maybe some change in like school handbooks and stuff like that, and not just at Spirit Weeks and stuff. But that's the main things that we're doing right now, and it's good to see you. So thank you for inviting us here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we heard about your surveys a little bit, so we're gonna look forward to hearing more about what you guys really decide to move forward on. Thank you. Thank you for that.
And we have a second student with us tonight. Jared and I have been talking with Will Kolowitz. I hope you said your name right, Will, if you want to turn your camera on. Will's taken the initiative to notice needs at the skate park, which at his invitation, we stood out there and were in complete agreement with the needs, and frankly felt that we owned some of how we got to where we are. And Will's going to tell you what he's working on. We're collaborating with him. He's got a vision here that I wanted to be sure you heard, and a lot of really great effort is coming together with his recruitment and volunteer efforts, and I thought it was important to tell you what he's working on. So hi, Will, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
All right, why don't you jump in?
Just for context, I started a foundation a little bit ago called Trash Trucks that originally started as something that I would use to clean up trash at skate parks in and around the Boston area. I chose the Concord Carlisle skate park first just because it was close and easy, and it ended up being a much bigger project than I had assumed because there was a lot of racist, sexist, and just kind of crude stuff in and around the skate park, as well as the fact that it has kind of been disregarded over the last couple of years. So it's been put in quite a poor state, which kind of invites more negative behavior. So basically what I did with my friends was go out and pick up trash for our first event, I would say. And then we decided to invite our friends and schools, students in and around the different schools. And on our first official event, we had 27 students come, and we picked up trash and began to remove spray paint that was vulgar or rude, as well as paint over other things. And we've been doing that for, I think, 3 weeks now. And each event has been above 25 students who come from Concord Carlisle and other schools as well. And our goal is kind of to better the environment in that skate park. So it invites people who care for the skate park more, and it reflects the town properly, of which at the moment I don't think it does. And with me tonight as well, I have Joshua White, who is working on a much more physical project for the skate park. He's super big into landscaping. I don't know if he wants to speak about his vision. I know he can do it much better than I can, but we kind of want to represent upcycling in the new skate parks. We've painted it green. We removed the trash. We want to have new features installed that we find from reusable objects, such as bike racks in and around the skate park, because that's what a lot of street spots are made out of. So you can speak on his vision.
Hi, yeah, my name's Josh. I'm also a senior as well. And personally, I love landscape and landscape design and have done some work in the past. And I saw the opportunity to ask Will, I was like, it'd be a great opportunity to add some landscape, kind of spruce up the park, make it look professional, welcoming, warm, etc. So I have several ideas. One of the ideas is to add some stones or mulch bed along the sides of the park with bushes or shrubs. We could add trees, multiple things, just to like make the park welcoming and reflect the town in a nice, warm way.
It's fantastic. Thank you guys. I mean, these are such great stories of people seeing something to improve, taking ownership of the environment that we're in, and really making everything better for everybody else.
The way this got to us, just so you know, they've been using video to recruit other students, and Mr. Gooder, who teaches the video class, saw what they were working on and thought it was important that we as leaders become part of it. And I think that's going to hopefully help it grow further. I've told Will they can paint whatever color they want out there. We're wanting to be part of the process and see what we can move forward. And just really excited for the advocacy that they've brought to the project. And this is the renewal of our recognitions portion of the meeting. We didn't seem to get it all the way to the agenda, but we're going to try to bring you some, really positive event or activity that's going across the district. And we're really glad both of you were able to join us. And they're already building some longevity to this. I see Sam couldn't come tonight. Sam's a freshman, so there's a legacy already built in to the project, and we're excited about that too.
Very impressive, guys.
It's very impressive.
Very impressive.
Awesome.
Thank
I
you.
was just going to add in one more point. We've set up an Instagram that has, I think, close to 200 followers now, and each video has gotten around 500 views. So, and that's just trash trucks. I don't know if I can just trash and then TRUX, if any of you guys want to check that out. That's another source of recruitment for students who don't go to our high school. It's just a form of informing others. So, and we also post what we've done so far. And I edit those videos, and I work with Mr. Gooder on that, if you want to check it out further. So thank you.
A couple of comments, if I may. We'd very much like to pass on what you shared tonight with the Concord Rotary Club, one of the organizations that was an originator way back when, creating the skate park that now needs your attention. So thank you so much for that. A practical question, because I don't know, do we still have a call box at the skate park?
No.
Okay, so that's something maybe we can talk about.
Okay, definitely, yeah. I didn't even know that was ever there.
Yeah, there was a call box at one point, so that evening and weekend users, if there was a crisis, there'd be an easy way. Now, we live in an era of cell phones today. It's a little different. But anyway, most importantly, thank you.
Yeah, we're happy to do it.
And can I just ask a question? When do you do most of your work at the park?
So most of our events are held on Fridays after school. We just find that, Fridays are time that most students have to kind of come to the park. A lot of the students who come are actually students at Concord Carlisle, so they find it easy. The one thing we ran into is students who have any sport commitments can't come because they often have games then. So I know last week we held on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And every single day, more than 30 kids came, which was really awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Usually, then Friday after school.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. And so now on to move to public comment.
You're welcome to stay or go, Will. Thank you for coming.
And we'll stay. It's fine. Yeah, we have nothing better to do.
So as a reminder, this meeting's being recorded. We don't have any members of the public in person tonight, so if there are any virtual participants who would like to speak, please raise your hand using the participants tab on Zoom, and we will call you in the order which hands are raised. Or you can turn on your video. Jennifer, did you?
Yes, hi. Hi, Tracy. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. I couldn't find the button. I just wanted to, I'm Jennifer Ubaldino, Executive Director at the Concord Carlisle Community Chest, as well as a parent of children in the middle school and the high school. But I wanted to just come on this evening to let you all know, because I'm sure you know that Dr. Hunter has a very busy schedule and attends a lot of different events, but wanted to let you know she was on a panel for the Community Chest last Wednesday when we had our annual fall luncheon, and it was sharing about the impact of the pandemic on our community. And you know, she was incredibly well received by our over 120 guests that were attending the luncheon, and a very amazing round of applause for her and the wonderful work that she is doing in our community. And I just wanted to share with everyone the thoughtful perspective that was given at the luncheon by Dr. Hunter, and the openness to partner around with everyone in the community and other groups, and how that was very well received from the participants as well as from those of us at the organization. And I just thought I wanted to share this with the school committee and those listening who may not have been at the luncheon, but to know that, you know, our community is far and wide, and I know that our Dr. Hunter does a lot, and how much has happened, you know, since the pandemic and everything that's been led through. And let's just say you have a lot of fans. So, so
It was a great panel. Jen, do you want to maybe name who else was there with me? Because I think we were a well-rounded group.
Absolutely. Janine Calabria, the executive director at Open Table, was there. Deborah Garfield from the Elliott Center, it's a mental health organization. Ben Elliott, who owns and runs Saltbox Farm and Kitchen, were also there. And so, yes, it was a nice balance of panel and showing all the different avenues of how we all been impacted clearly by the pandemic in the last year and a half across our community, and the ways and honestly opportunities and challenges that everyone presented in their different areas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great event. Great organization.
Do you have any other public comments? If you can't get to the participants tab because your device isn't cooperating, please just turn on your video and we can acknowledge you. But I don't see anybody. Okay, so I think we will proceed to the reading of the minutes from the open session 9/28 to 21. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Discussion? Okay. Roll call?
Anderson, I.
With I.
Morano, I.
Mustaki, aye.
I saw her there. Wilson, I. Okay, thank you. Correspondence. On the region side, we had an inquiry about staff and teachers, children's enrollment in the schools. And a question, oh my gosh, no, I've just forgotten. And a question about the curriculum.
Correct.
Middle school.
We just had a ATG from middle school had an inquiry about their handbook. Thanks to them for reaching out.
Chairs and liaisons reports. Tracy?
I will start with DEI. So I've been doing some behind the scenes work these past couple weeks. And so tomorrow I have a meeting with Andrew and Lori to kind of get our committee set and up and running. We'll collaboratively do an agenda. and then I'll reach out to the other members to see if there's anything else you want to add. So I'm going to run it as like a draft agenda, and if you have anything else you'd like to add, we can just add it on that way. So that's tomorrow, and then Paula Harris, I got her name wrong. Paula Martin, sorry. I was thinking of a different Paula. Paula Martin we're going to have a phone call on Monday to go over kind of the direction of some training that I'd like to do with the school committees. So that's going to happen on Monday. And then hopefully we can meet as a subcommittee next week. So just giving enough lead time to actually get everybody's meetings and schedule situated. I'm not sure if she'll be joining us or not. So Monday we'll kind of frame that a little bit better. And then I've reached out to a few school committees to try and get something on the books planned, and I'm just waiting on that. So I'm waiting on Wellesley and Needham and a few others. So as soon as that kind of takes shape, we'll go from there.
Fantastic. Yeah. And Dr. Martin is always a great resource for us. We're really fortunate to
Yep.
have her close to us. Yep.
Yep. And the equity surveys happened at the middle school and the high school last week. And so those are rolling along. So we're just in process right now.
I can give a quick building committee update. We have created a fairly robust first half of our schedule for our public outreach. Confirmed events include a public forum on Zoom this Thursday evening at 7 p.m. It will be followed by a coffee on the library lawn in Concord Center, an outdoor event on Monday the 1st at noon. We're sort of billing it as a bring your own lunch kind of day. It might be our first day of sunshine in like 6 days. I think hopefully that will mean it might be well attended. We have an evening meeting with the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail that same evening. We have penciled in that same week, which, geez Louise, is next week, to potentially we're looking at doing 3 types of panel discussions, one on special education, one on sustainability, and maybe one on team teaching. I forget what the third one is, to be perfectly honest. That is potentially scheduled for the following Thursday, the 4th. We then have a gracious invitation from the Willard PTG on Wednesday, the 10th. Wednesday, the 10th in that evening, we are firming this up. We might do outreach to all the different preschools. We're working on coordinating that with the integrated preschool here, as well as several other preschools in town. I mean, I'm going through all of these. On the 15th, we are meeting with the special ed parent committee. And we're going to and then we are booked 11/16 and for a more casual coffee. Again, we're hoping weather can cooperate and we can try to utilize some outdoor space. And then we will go back to Zoom on the 18th. We believe at that point we will have the ability, while we're going back to Zoom, to get a wide berth of people, is because we believe we'll have numbers, like firm numbers, that the committee will have debated out at that point. So then we start really going into the bigger presentations, which will be the 18th, the 1st of December. We haven't firmed up our December schedule yet, is the truth, but the November schedule is pretty robust. That's what we're working on.
Thank you.
And I should also say, I should interrupt on the school committee coffees, just to give the public a little update, because information is coming tonight. In case you're interested in joining us, we are having 3 coffees, and we are going to be available informally to answer questions, maybe give you a little bit of information about the building project, DEI, and special education. And so we had one scheduled for tomorrow at the Concord Public Library lawn, and they are definitely bring your own coffee. And you can bring your own chair if you'd like to have a comfortable chair, but there are chairs available. But tomorrow it is going to rain again. So we are going to cancel that and reschedule it. And the hope is to reschedule it for Tuesday, November 2nd at 9:15 on the library. And the Saturday, for some reason, rain likes to follow me. So Saturday, October 30th, we'll be moving inside to the high school cafeteria. And it is mask required at the high school. So that will be at 9:15. And then the last one that will happen, rain or shine, is going to be inside November 13th at Metco Inc., and that is 11 Roxbury Street in Boston. I think that's it. Yes, Court.
This may be a little silly. Is this a bring our own coffee, or does the school committee brew coffee?
I think that the school committee might provide some coffee. I think
All
I'll
right.
bring some coffee, and you could bring your own to the library because that's a little trickier, but I guess the school committee could provide coffee, or I will do that.
You might bring your own mugs.
Bring your own mug,
Very
bring your own
good,
mug
thank you.
if we need more,
Helpful.
but yes, I'll take care of that. Thank you.
We'll have a straight cupboard.
Yes.
Great.
I have very little. The folks from Jared's office, Ian in particular, joined me at the finance audit group last week with the town. This was a follow-up on work that Jared's been doing with the committee to satisfy their needs to oversee the town audit that encompasses the region also. We authorized the release of the final report, which is in our packet tonight. And it conforms very nicely with what we discussed at our last meeting. Two findings in the form of recommendations on top of a report that declared the audit clean, which means no concerns. Secondly, maybe we could have a few of us who were in attendance last night at the Concord Select Board note things that are significant. One is the warrant is open for the town meeting, and that'll be so through, 2 weeks from yesterday? November 4th, I think, yeah. So we attend to that. Also, the special town meeting for January 20th has a snow date, no surprise, of January 27. The town vote that follows a town meeting, so we go from town meeting to ballot box. It was Feb 2, it's now Feb 3. And let me see.
That's also the election for the open seat on the school committee.
That is correct. The 1-year opening for the school committee. That election will be on that day as well. And then finally, not restricted to appointed and elected committee members, volunteers in town, and that is the effective governance workshop. And that's slated for online only, Zoom on November 6th, Saturday morning. And that's what I've got.
Thank you. Eva, do you have any updates?
Yes, so the Concord Carlisle adult and community education met on I apologize, met on Friday the 15th. They are currently working on their mission updates of the mission statement, and they also reported that the budget is strong. So things are going well. More students are signing up for the music classes, and the programs are going forward.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? Yep. Oh, okay. Great. So we are on to discussion. Dr. Hunter, COVID update.
Please screen share. So I'm bringing you, as we've grown a habit of, bringing you some updated COVID numbers and updates from the state level and some of our local thinking. The great news is that we are really low on cases, just one each week of the last 2 at the high school. Our total count is at 33, which is also great news that obviously is not growing in any great acceleration. These are updated vaccination numbers. We are seeing a little a slow uptick in the middle school as a few kids get fully vaccinated, but they're really strong and steady. So excited and glad about that. I'm bringing you testing participation. We are fully functional in our asymptomatic pool testing. This has been average if I look at the last few weeks, right around 1,600-ish, 1 week a little higher, 1 week a little lower. And things are really streamlined. As you know, it was a rocky start, so we're glad to see we've got it all smoothed out and it's going very well. The state continues to offer updates and information. The one I'm going to jump to, because the others are minor updates, the extension of the mask mandate happened earlier today. The commissioners extended the mandate through January 15th. So that you will inherit that. The opt-out that you can submit your documentation to show you're at over 80% is still there for the committee to consider. I think I personally am sure that when he spoke with us before the announcement went out, the mindset really is a couple of coming attractions here with the vaccination of the younger kids, the move to winter and indoors, and then the holiday season. And we know last year that had pretty significant impact on the COVID rates. So I think that was their rationale and thinking, and you can read that online. Just a couple of updates here on what's happening locally, and we actually got tentative dates from them today. The local health officials have been ready to want to sponsor a vaccine clinic for the youngest children as that becomes approved and ready. So they have tentative dates already set of November 20th and 21st. That's the earliest they could get the vendor to be available, with the second shot in December. Probably, I think what they're asking me to do is put out a soft survey for a feel of who would be interested in participating, so if they can help, that would help with the planning purposes. And then we're under discussion right now, because we should be reviewing our protocols all the time. So we're under discussion of the symptom screener, and how its future with us might continue. We have huge benefits in the communication it offers us. Today we started talking on that's especially true when there's symptoms involved. So it could be we move to just ask that people use it when there's a symptomatic individual in the mix, and wane off of the daily piece. I know there's probably some positive feedback if we did that. So I'll have that, settled for you within the next 2 weeks. And then we're also considering the last phase of the DESE testing program with the antigen test is the symptomatic individuals being able to stay in school. What we're exploring right now, and I think I would recommend starting with the vaccinated students first. We're seeing a pretty widespread bunch of colds go around and things like that. And because we're not live streaming and right now the protocol is symptom free, that's the only pocket we have of kids home for any extended time. We're very fortunate to not really have quarantines happening and otherwise. So we do want to explore that, because the antigen tests, then if they test negative, they can stay in school. And so that's on our radar, and I think we'll bring back to you a plan in a couple of weeks for that. So things are going well. I think COVID has faded into the backdrop for us for the most part, which I think is what we were hoping, and fingers crossed it stays that way. One last dangling piece, we are waiting. DESE has said they're going to release guidance for the winter sports season.
Right.
So we're awaiting that, hopefully in the next week. I think they were aiming for November 1st. So we'll keep an eye on that and let you know when we see it. Thank you.
So the headlines are mask mandate extended to January 15th.
Yes.
And what was it? FDA or CDC approved 5 to 11.
FDA advisory
yeah.
panel.
And then we're waiting for CDC next.
Yeah, I think it's actually the FDA itself. Their advisory panel approved it, so then they
Okay.
have to formally approve it.
Then
How I read it?
Yes.
I could be wrong.
I think I read the vaccines have shipped. We're just kind of waiting to administer them now.
I've been here, so I only know what text alert flashed at me, so I'll get more informed tomorrow. We'll be
That's
sure to
really-
know what's happening. Yep.
I mean, I read most pediatricians are really excited about it. And
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
overall a huge
it definitely was the next big step and probably the last big step. So we're excited for the opportunity to start to be available.
And yeah, the other big headline is the use of the symptomatic testing.
Impossible symptomatic testing in school, and probably the biggest headline might be that symptom screener going away in the morning. So
You're gonna get
I do love that.
feedback, but you're not gonna get any negative feedback.
I don't think
Yeah.
anybody go, darn, I really enjoyed that. Yeah, so we'll keep you posted.
All great news.
Yes.
All right. So school improvement.
All right,
plan.
Mr. Mastrullo is
So,
on the call.
Welcome. Thank you
Hi,
for
good evening,
joining
everybody.
us
Can you hear
this
me?
evening. Hi.
You
Yes.
can.
Hi. Great, thank you. Do you want me to share my screen, Lori, correct?
Yes, please pull the plan up.
Okay, so hopefully we can do this seamlessly. All right, and you can see that, I assume?
You betcha.
Yeah.
Great.
You can
A couple-
enlarge it a little bit. That would be helpful.
here.
It's
Sure.
pretty small.
All right. Hopefully how's that? Well, I'll do the best we can here, and I can speak to most of it. One quick thing I did want to add, first of all, it was great to hear Will and Josh talk about the work they've been doing. And, along a similar vein that we have a few other things going on. So Madeline Pooler has taken over as the NHS advisor, doing a great job. I know that they have the annual fall cleanup coming up. So the 6th, 7th, and the 13th, they'll be raking some leaves for community members. Ray Pavlik has organized a community service event at the high school to just do some cleanup around the grounds. And I know he's already maxed out at 75 students. So we're looking for additional projects. So just some good stuff that's going on, and excited for that. And glad to see that Josh and Will took some initiative there too. And so I'm here to talk about the high school improvement plan. Glad to do so. I've been told to focus really on what's new in the plan. So the goal number 1 is ninth grade academy, which has been a great highlight of last year, and has gone even better than anticipated. But that is a continuation of a goal from a couple of years ago. I can't say enough about the leaders in that program, particularly Teresa Ruggiero and Robin Ccta have just done tremendous work, and it was a really bright highlight of last year, and it was tough to find a lot of highlights in a really difficult and challenging year. The RTI program, that is continuing. This is also a goal that we are just expanding on. And so we have interventions and universal screeners in ELA, math, and SEL. I'm really excited that we've added Nancy Booten as a reading specialist this year. She was at Concord Public Schools for a number of years, and she is now with us at the high school and just doing a great job. So one new component is just the analyzing the challenge success survey feedback, which really dovetails really well with all the other feedback that we gathered last year and analyzed as a leadership team, Kristen taking the lead on that. And we've done a lot of quality work with our faculty, and really just highlighting some of the things that went really well during the pandemic, some of the changes that were made that we want to keep. And this challenge success survey is new data. It is from the pandemic. We do have to keep that in mind. But nevertheless, there's a lot of highlights. We will have a report to the school committee on the 5th. And we're really grateful for CEF for funding this. And so that work has commenced. The creating a collaborative and inclusive culture at CCHS. This is the continuation of the DEI work. And really glad to have Andrew spearheading a lot of this work. Feel like we've made some great progress, and as we've noted, clearly we have still work to be done. And then this is the DCAP, which is something we're going to focus on this year. The DCAP in many districts is a little bit of a document that kind of sits on a shelf and collects dust. And we really want to bring it to life at the high school. It's really just naming a lot of things that we're already doing, but really codifying and making sure that we are providing accommodations for all learners. And so for those who don't know what a DCAP is, part of Mass Reform Act of 1993. It was a BCAP, which is a building accommodation curriculum accommodation plan, and a DCAP, which is a district curriculum accommodation plan. Clearly, we are a district, so we are focusing on the DCAP, working with School Advisory Council and the leadership team. And essentially what we're doing is trying to make sure that we're meeting the needs of students the best of our ability in the classroom, and supporting diverse learning needs through accommodations for all students, and strategies, also strategies for students whose behavior may interfere with learning. And part of the DCAP requires parental involvement, and really we're doing that mainly through a School Advisory Council, and also calls for support for teacher collaboration and mentoring. We do have a really robust mentor program. And so, that's, although part of the DCAP is not really going to be the focus of our work. But really what we're trying to do is just strengthen the general education program so it benefits all students and diverse learning styles. And what we've started is just collecting from every department some of the what we call tier 1 interventions that are taking place in the classroom. And just really making sure that we have a list that everyone is comfortable with, is happy with, because they are accommodations that are available to all students. So I think this will be of this school improvement plan. Of course, a lot of this work is we're continuing, and there is some new work with Challenge Success. I think this will be the real focal point for us as a leadership team. Is to, again, just kind of analyze our current DCAP and really make this a living, breathing document.
Fantastic. Thank you. Any questions?
Hi, yes, I have a question, if I may. Sorry, I
Sure.
can tell. Thank you. I apologize. It's a little challenging. So I had a question. Does the DCAP program, does this program also address the needs of the students on specifically on 504 plans, their unique needs at school?
So it's really, yes. I mean, I guess the quick answer is yes, because these are general education accommodations that are to meet the needs of all students in the classroom. So this is not necessarily, but there, you will see some things on a DCAP that you might see on a 504 plan, whether it's extra time or breaking down assignments. So to answer your question, yes, it's not a special education intervention, but it is meant to benefit all students in the classroom. And you will see very similar accommodations that are in a 504 plan will also be, they're also in a DCAP as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I had one quick question. With respect to goal 2, line 2, you guys are going to administer the screeners for ELA math and the social emotional learning in 9th grade. Do you do that in subsequent grades to sort of track progress, to look for improvements or trends, or is it just a 9th grade initiative?
So it's a great question. Mainly just 9th grade. Now, every student, obviously, as they progress through, will have done it. It will be administered multiple times to 9th graders. What's really great about the screeners is it literally tells you where a student is in terms of their grade level and in the month. So it would be, 9th grade, 11th month in terms of reading or whatever it may be. And so by testing, we've already administered the universal screener to 9th graders for this year. And then we will do it again later in the year to see how they have progressed. The issue with doing it, and then there will be some upperclassmen, to answer your question, who maybe have been identified as struggling, who might also take the universal screener. I think the issue with doing it in every grade is just the number of times we're testing. Obviously, as 10th graders are taking 3 MCAS exams, and so it does get to the question of whether or not there's still value in doing it every single grade every year, and just the number of just testing hours.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I had a challenge success question. So in the survey feedback, do you feel like you're going to get good information on kind of the mental health and wellness of the kids, like coming off of pandemic from last year? And will they have actionable goals for next year, or this year, I should say?
Yeah, it's a good question. So right now, so I have taken a pretty deep look at it. Right now, Allison Nowicki and a small team is doing the same. I would love to see some actionable items that we can put in place this year. I think in combination with the DCAP, if we can move relatively quickly with some minor changes that can really help support kids. I will say that there already have been some changes that we've made this year, and some of it is just reverting back to past practice, like the MARC and the CERC just being available for kids. We also, I spoke about NHS, and I know in collaboration with the science department, we also have a science resource center for kids to just drop in and get some support. But to answer your question, Tracy, I'm hopeful that with a deep dive and a report being submitted by the November 5th, it certainly gives us plenty of time to take actionable steps this year. So it's not just something that we're pursuing for next year.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mike. When we looked at this in the spring and knew that COVID had really impaired your ability, our ability to engage parents in the community, hope was we'd come back in the fall and there would have been some more gains in that area. Can you give us a little more information on how parent engagement, community engagement, advisory committee engagement is heightened now that we're back in school together?
Yeah, I think it's a little early to highlight much that's happened thus far. We still do have some restrictions with in terms of groups, in the building. But I do think it does present an opportunity this year just to re-engage with parents in many different forms. And so, excited really to report about something of substance, down the road. But, in terms of like principal coffees and school advisory council, and we've talked about, going into Boston to have a leadership team meeting and just trying to do as much outreach as we can. I think at the moment, just in full disclosure, I think we are a little shocked by the pace and perhaps a little naive. That maybe thought that going into this year, maybe would be taking a breath. But I will say it's been we've had some challenges at the beginning of the year, some public and some some not. And so, I think we're just kind of getting our sea legs as we near the end of the first quarter.
Like parent conferences are this week?
Yes, thank you, Lori. October 29th are parent conferences. And those are going to be the nice thing with Zoom. It's very accessible. We can move it to during the day so folks aren't out very late at night. And with it being on Zoom, folks, even if they're working or busy in some form or fashion, can still engage. I do think it's important to note as well that oftentimes if the folks don't get a slot to meet with a teacher, sometimes there can be a little panic that they've missed their opportunity. This is structured time for parents and teachers to meet, but it's certainly not the only time. And we encourage parents to reach out to connect with a teacher if there's a concern, if they just want an update. I will say that we did make a concerted effort this year to be proactive with reaching out to parents that teachers really might need to talk to because of some struggles in the classroom. It's always good to share highlights of students that are doing really well, and there's certainly a lot of those. And it's always nice to hear that your son or daughter, your child's doing really well. But we really wanted to be proactive in trying to recruit, for lack of a better term, parents that were kids that were struggling a bit.
One final question for me, Mike. MARC and CERC, are we at capacity in terms of student services there? Do we have a need for further attention to resources going toward MARC and CERC? Where do we stand?
Okay, so I would say I mean, we have a lot of structures in place to support kids. I don't think there needs to be an expansion of the MARC or the CERC. We did add this year as part of the ninth grade academy, what we're calling branch, which is a separate resource center just for ninth graders, which does create a little more room for, grades 10, 11, 12. I think we do have to be proactive about making sure students are, utilizing these resources. And part of that is maybe a better effort from us to market. And I have done that. I did send out a blog a few weeks ago highlighting some of the opportunities that kids have to get support. And so the homework club is one. We reinstituted a homework club. We have a peer tutoring from National Honor Society. Again, the CERC, the ninth grade study skills, which is branch, the Math Resource Center. And so, and coupled with that, we have structured time for extra help for kids, can make an appointment with their teacher for extra help. So, we do have a lot of opportunities for kids to get support. We all recognize, and we've talked about this a lot. This has been really the mantra of the year is, and I probably need a different example. I use the same one every time. But, we really need to understand that even through our best efforts the past 18 months, we, the kids just did not get the same level of education that they're accustomed to, that we're accustomed to. And so as a student who's walking into Algebra 2 normally very well prepared or prepared at a level that we're accustomed to, the student is just not going to be there. And so we have to spend a lot of time backfilling and making sure that we are, again, meeting kids where they are. And recognizing that it was a challenging environment for even the most well-prepared, well-adjusted students with really high levels of executive functioning. It was challenging for them. And so, for kids that struggle in any one of those areas, including just motivation with the way the education environment was, kids are they're not as well prepared as they have been in the past, and certainly through no fault of their own or ours, but we have to be cognizant of it and make sure that we are really supporting students. And so there's been a lot of dialogue about that, particularly as we get close to the end of Q1.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Questions have been asked and answered.
Fantastic, thank you. This has come a long way since we saw you in the spring. Great. Yeah.
Thank you. Always grateful for the time and
Very much appreciated.
A lot of work to do.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
Very ambitious.
Looking forward to the
Thanks, Mike.
challenge success update.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Okay. And we are at facility fees. How do we want to start this? Well, I mean, just a conversation that it's time to review, especially, on both the.
Yeah, I can tell a
schools.
little storytelling of history here. Stops and starts at attempting to update facility fees. It's been on the radar my whole tenure. We were moving along in the fall of 2019. Jared's team had done some work to prep for that. And then busyness had pushed it along and it landed in the winter of 20 and then we closed. So it just sort of frozen in time. The facility fees have not been revised in over 10 years, probably 12 now. So it's overdue to take a look. I think tonight's intent was to just get a baseline of information to you, put out what we have for information, ask what else you need and would hope for, so that we bring you tools that'll help you to decide where we want to go. We had drafted a recommendation that we can bring to you at your request in a coming meeting. And I think that's really where we're at for tonight. It's just sort of a big picture committee discussion. Jared can answer any questions you have on what's attached to the agenda, both the current rates and then the comps they gathered across the other districts. Those are up to date, correct? Yep. So those are up to date and can be informative. And then we're just here to have you tell us what you need next so the discussion can continue.
I mean, just to say, we're not going to dig into the numbers tonight. We're not, I don't think that we're prepared to have a conversation about that. But at this point, with what we've seen, it's just useful to figure out what more do we need to see or what do we need to know, right? Like I, for example, would love to know who have been our big users, like, right?
Mhm.
And what's the general use, really? And so-
I have a couple questions. So is a Thoreau tent rentable? Just like from a logistics standpoint, because I do work with an outside group outside of this and people are asking, is it rentable?
So we have not been
And heated.
charging because it's an outdoor.
The outdoors are not being
It's
charged for.
Using
Yeah.
any electrical.
Yep. I guess, is that a possibility to rent the outdoor space at Thoreau outside of school hours with electricity?
There is, yep.
And that would be chargeable?
Yep,
Yeah, okay.
because you would need a custodian.
Yeah.
So we have a fee for that. We can figure it
How
out.
much longer are the tents staying up, though?
3 weeks.
Oh, okay. So, and then my other question is there different pricing if it's a nonprofit versus just, I don't know, I'll use like a dance academy coming in to use it versus a nonprofit?
So right now, no. I don't know if, I think I was talking to you, Court, that in the past they had a couple of tiers, but since '09 they have not.
Okay,
And as Dr. Hunter was saying, when I first got here, we did work on a tiered system and then sort of busyness did get in the way. We never presented it. So right now we only do have one tier.
okay.
So that's up for discussion
Yeah,
as you
okay.
consider what to do next, for sure.
I would say, since I've looked around extensively, that almost everybody has at least 2 tiers, some 4 tiers.
Okay.
It depends on your agreements with youth sports and et cetera, et cetera. Right now, all the Concord Public School athletic fields are managed by the Concord Rec.
Okay,
We would not charge fees.
Right.
My idea is that we'd have a separate set of fees for the Concord Public Schools, where we don't even worry about athletic fields, and a separate set of fees for the region, because we do have to worry about athletic fields.
Mhm.
And it also gives us the opportunity to break open any fee structure that we put together for the Concord Public Schools when we open our grade A facility, Concord Middle School, in 2025. And we would obviously adjust, I think, the fees perhaps, or not, indoor fees anyway for outside groups at Concord Middle School. That's just way future, but.
right.
Have a
And
framework
Yeah.
for.
And the fee schedule is also available online. I'm just a user on the other end typically where I'm booking things and you have to choose in district, out of district, external, internal, there are a bunch of different choices. And I just wonder if like maybe that would be helpful for people that are booking spaces.
Sure.
There's also questions of insurance, et cetera.
Yes, yep.
I'm hoping that we will resume our practice of having a Concord Carlisle nonprofit tier
Yeah.
and a all other tier. It did work in the past. The building service fees are what they are irrespective of the user,
Right,
and those should be uniform and set at the, in my opinion, the time and a half or double time rate applicable to the senior custodian in a given building, so that we're not mixing and matching. Instead, it's a standard fee. I think we need to revisit what a Concord or Carlisle nonprofit actually means. Does it mean you have a EIN from a 501c3 or not? And it also leads to the question, what priority do governmental groups get before the nonprofit youth serving groups get before the nonprofit not youth serving groups get? But this is all doable.
Yeah,
We can
definitely.
resurrect
All the other
of-
districts do this.
all
yeah.
of this, I think.
Yep.
The fact that's little discussed when people squawk at these fees is the sheer cost of opening a door 25 times and firing up an extra boiler for a few hours. This is in the hundreds of dollars.
Running the air conditioning.
We're never going to see this as a real enhancement to our bottom line that we can plow into educational resources for kids. We're not Holiday Inn.
No.
We never will be.
No?
But I do think we need to take some effort to see that the costs by the outside users, if you will, are fully borne. And if that becomes a disincentive, so be it, because there's plenty of other users before we have the outside groups.
There's definitely wear and tear on our facilities. There's no question.
Unquestionably,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So thanks for moving this along. I think we should be able to finish it up in short order.
I had a quick question. It's probably a silly one. What happens? Is there a fee structure for nonprofits that are not charging a fee of the participants? Is there a way to differentiate in the past, or are there groups that would find fees difficult to manage if they're not charging those fees of participants are benefiting young students?
So we don't differentiate how they're going to cover costs when we book with them. We trust they've either got a per user fee or a general fee or whatever structure. So we haven't gone into that, Eva. We really just are about whether they can use the space at a given time and they're in the category of paying or not paying, and then making sure that they follow through with the payment. So I hear why you ask. That's just the other side of the work that we don't tend to be part of.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for the clarification.
You're welcome.
So we'll be delving more into this soon in coming meetings. Yep. All right.
I think what this is going to do is get us back into an annual cycle or biannual cycle with the other districts that routinely share this information. It's SOP to get these requests from other districts.
And a last quick question: is there a particular sweet spot of a time that we should have those fees published, where most of the groups are making their reservations, or just at any point, basically?
I would say the general feedback I hear from when this conversation was on the radar a couple of years ago, they need notice so they can accommodate for any increases. So I don't know if there's a specific time of year, but we'd want to definitely build in some months ahead of implementing from whenever you make a decision. That seems to be the biggest feedback, is don't do it really quickly, because we've already gotten our funds all established, and then you've changed the amount midstream.
If I might, Dr. Hunter, would December enable for the following fiscal year enable the big volume users in the summer to know what's going on and do their fee setting accordingly?
We usually have requests from them that we hold until January 1st. So those requests are usually in hand by December, and we tell all of the users we're going to not assign anything until after they're all collected. And then in January, we map it all out against, usually to try to work through any conflicts and make sure everybody has access. So January is the big scheduling month for the summer.
So in, let's say, December, January, they would have put in a request knowing what the current rates are, and they'd anticipate any announcement about changes the very same time that you gave them an A or an A and a real budget number.
I would think so.
Yeah, okay.
So if we conclude the discussion in December, that gives it's.
I would think that would actually allow us to notice them before they put the request in, which feels like the right order.
Thank you. All right, MASC conference, which is
November 3rd through November 6th.
Next week.
so the resolutions. Last year we did vote to have representatives from both committees there to vote on resolutions. Are we doing that this year?
Could I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
We have 2 delegates, am I correct?
Do you need to have 2 delegates? One cannot vote for 2. One
Right,
cannot vote for 2.
exactly. So we need 2. But we discussed how we would want those two to be entrusted with the responsibility to engage in the debate and then have the authority to vote in hopes they would do their best to speak for the entire committee, but we would entrust them to make that judgment. That's one way to approach it, knowing that whatever we think we know now isn't the complete story. There's going to be some debate. I'm comfortable with delegating the authority and supporting their decisions, knowing that they're going to act in good faith on our collective behalf best they can. As a matter of process, I wonder if we want to just visit each one and get what, in effect, a straw poll or opinion or
How many
sentiment.
are there, though?
We can do
9.
this quickly.
Okay.
There are 9. And
Oh, I thought there was like.
it strikes me that some of these really don't relate to us in any practical way at all. We're a rather well-endowed district with a very supportive set of communities behind us. Nonetheless, they speak to some equity issues for the Commonwealth at large that matter to us. And then a couple of them might be much more close to home for us.
The vote is usually Saturday morning, right?
We do have our
That's when the
Concord,
voting is.
Which is when,
our
yeah.
Concord workshop, which I strongly encourage anybody who hasn't gone to
I
attend.
definitely need to go to the Concord workshop.
Yeah.
So I
don't attend the Concord workshop because I'm not in Concord.
no,
Yeah, okay.
would be funny to attend.
The Concord workshop?
No, the
Oh.
MASC.
I can attend the MASC assembly.
Just need one more of us.
I'll do whatever the committee wants me to do. Go to either one.
Why don't we talk offline and just figure out how to get another delegate there?
Just briefly share sentiment now, so whoever
Yeah.
goes has a bit of
Yeah.
guidance on this table.
Does that sound good?
Can I just ask a question about the workshop? Has it been offered in the past and have you guys
It's
gone?
been
you've
offered in
been
the
before?
past. It was started by the town clerk and the high school's adult ed program some years ago with the help of a previous town moderator. And then it's continued
changes
most
a little bit.
most
Did every
years
year,
with some
okay.
changes, yeah.
Okay, okay.
And it's a very practical how-to,
Mhm.
very practical what not to do
Mhm.
if you're in public service. And we hope it also has a third objective of inspiring citizens to join town committees and
Committees.
other
Understandable
initiatives.
that it's on Zoom, but it's a little unfortunate because it was an excellent way for people to meet each other
Yeah,
who hadn't met
met each other. Yeah,
But, you know, it's
probably
glad
informally.
we're having
and-
it.
Right,
even though
okay.
it's on Zoom. So, yeah. You
Right.
want to?
So dedicated, resolution 1 is dedicated funding for school-based clinics and services. I think we're just going to go through and see if there are any major feelings in any direction that if something was to change, some kind of significant change happened, because there's always the little bit of editing.
And the school-based clinic is a little bit foreign to me because obviously this is an important component for some districts to have such a service. So.
Well, as a once community educator, you know my bias, that many cities and towns do rely on public schools as the delivery center that's affordable, highly accessible, and highly trusted. Thus, the mission creep of public education is such that these schools do more. The proposal is specific in the sense that it supports the idea of funding for clinics and services delivered out of school facilities. Often it's after hours.
Yep.
But then it gets very general in that it only asks that MASC support proposals.
Yes.
So it's not very directive in that sense. So I think we'd really be endorsing concept here for districts for whom the citizenry would greatly benefit from this service delivery model.
Okay.
Next.
Homework gap and internet access.
I'm just reading to the end. It gives me the impression that the IDEA Full Funding Act would,
No,
the-
it's, you go up to the top.
oh,
of-
goodness
Yep.
gracious.
I
Thank you.
did that the first time too.
So
Let's
this is
see.
another one that we support legislation that seeks to provide free broadband internet to all K-12.
Specifically federal legislation.
And, I don't know if you've been trying to keep up with the infrastructure bill, but I gave up. But I believe it was, may not anymore be in there, or one of the bills.
Yeah,
mentioned frequently,
it's too
so,
hard. There's been so much
Okay.
change.
Of course, we would
So
support
this
that.
could be moot, is what you're sort of implying?
No, I'm just saying I don't know, and it's still something to strive for. And I know we've all heard the stories of people sitting in parking lots
Yeah.
borrowing Wi-Fi.
In Massachusetts, your Berkshire schools
Yeah.
struggled through the pandemic.
I do have one practical question for me, practical, and that is, what does free broadband internet to all K-12 students actually mean? Does it mean it follows them home, or that districts would have support for their internet services, which they're probably cobbling together one way or another anyway right now, even in the Berkshires? I don't know.
Yeah,
This
they
is
said the
what's
mass
tricky. There's a lot of I
legislation.
don't know in all of these.
Yeah.
But does this get discussed? Do questions like this get discussed and answered
Yes.
through this whole process? So so whoever a delegate is can then make that
They're gonna make
decision.
that judgment
Yeah.
call. Yeah. Well, in concept, I'm highly supportive. I don't, this is an equity issue.
Yeah.
They're calling on mass legislation for the free part and federal for the infrastructure, so.
I don't think that what the mechanism for delivering the internet is going to change feelings about.
Sure,
it
whether we
should
agree
be.
with the spirit of it, yeah.
Exactly.
No, I was just thinking the practicality. How does my kid bring broadband home to himself and not to
Right.
grandma and grandpa too? No, seriously, you know.
I know,
I don't mean
literally,
to be
but this
flip
is
about
the-
it, you know, just
Yep.
practical. Wonder what was happening, that's all.
Right, now we're back to IDEA.
They do say expansion of FCC's E-rate program to include homes of K-12
Yeah.
students. So that means it would
That would be the
then end up
umbrella
being
program.
extending to the families as well. Okay, the Idea Full Funding Act.
Again, it's
Again,
to reintroduce and promote. It's not, these are also vague.
These ones are very-
Deliberately, I suppose, but
and I think that we do support the idea of making sure that special education services are funded appropriately
sure,
through federal funding, right?
uncontroversial.
Okay. Recess.
Very uncontroversial as well.
Dr. Hunter, does this even require this kind of attention? Or I know you are from districts where recess was not unknown to you, but are there districts where educators would need to be prompted to?
It's advocacy to have them relook at the time and learning rules, because right now we have to exclude recess from time
Right.
and learning, and it extends the
Oh.
school day.
So that's the significant piece.
That is
I
a
was
very
very
significant.
Glad I
You
asked.
dig in on those
Glad I
pieces
asked.
of legislation, I would think they say that.
And
right?
this is not this isn't confined to any particular age group. This is
No,
for all
'cause
K-12
It doesn't matter,
students.
we do recess at the middle school, it's the same exclusionary time, elementary, if,
No, I mean, this resolution is applying for, it's K through 12.
So it presents a problem here,
yeah,
Well,
we're
yeah,
constantly
everywhere,
adding
yeah.
and juggling, and
right?
especially as we've revisited schedules in COVID, and this year the 900 minutes was in effect again.
Yeah.
We've had to relook at how we're operating.
Mhm.
So yes, it definitely affects us.
Do you, is it a challenge to juggle all of it? Like, do
Yes.
you wish we had the
Yes.
ability to have more recess?
Well, I think we're always trying
Time
to
and learning.
balance the
Yeah.
time. I just wish we had more freedom to make those decisions. It's
Yeah, at the
especially
local.
challenging at the middle school. So the fact that it's excluded just naturally creates this problem area that you have to look at, because you're automatically constrained unless we're going to come ask for a longer school day, which is not likely given the scope of that. So it's definitely a limiting factor, no question.
Lunch turns into recess.
Yes.
They discount lunch too.
So I'm saying, I'll eat my lunch in 5 minutes.
Yes.
Go
No,
outside.
of course.
Yeah,
That's like the
yeah.
anecdote that went
It
around
seems
the
like
world.
there's another approach that
Mhm.
could make more sense given,
And just
what they
quick
reference.
question, does home base go into time and learning or no?
yes.
It is, okay.
Yes.
Eva, do you have a question?
No, I'm good. I'm listening to the explanations. That was very helpful, Dr. Hunter.
Welcome.
Okay. Zero tolerance policies. We spoke about this one last time a little
Mhm.
bit.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
again, it's
We
one of
did.
those that I think
Yes.
we endorse the spirit.
Yeah,
of this.
encourage the use of restorative, therapeutic, and educational approaches.
School committees and receivership.
We skipped alternative to MCAS.
Oh.
Number 6,
Oops, yep, there we go. Oh, alternative to MCAS.
research and analyze alternative means for students to demonstrate academic achievement. I imagine we have a small subset for whom that applies already.
Only students of special needs of a very, very
Right,
significant degree.
Uh-huh.
Very few.
Mhm.
But my point is, there are indeed alternate
Yeah, not many.
measures,
It's
but not many. Okay.
very few.
Any thoughts on that one?
Like this is maybe the only remotely made, like where people might have interesting opinions.
I feel like it was on last year, got laid on the table or something.
Yeah.
Something very similar, because I just remember the very extensive
Very
conversation and a concern about the scholarships.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't remember what the bottom line on that was.
Yeah, that was a surprising.
So again, the language in this makes it difficult to ascertain, are they trying to replace MCAS or provide an alternative for a subset of identified children who might benefit from a literal alternative, as if a local district perhaps could make choices about which kids take which test? I mean, that's potentially interesting.
That's when I would say that
To
we would,
swap?
we would need to hear what the discussion is.
Yeah.
Definitely. That would be a good question to ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not particularly, it's not, I can't make that determination based on this language.
This will,
When we look at educational attainment on the part of Massachusetts students, it does bring forward the question, to what extent do high-stakes tests contribute or interfere with that? But we know where we stand nationally, and we know what our MCAS looks like. And further, we know what it was like, what was it, 25, 27 years ago when this got introduced. There was an extraordinary amount of teeth gnashing.
Yeah, I was in the classroom.
You know,
Same.
it was pretty rough.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so part of my thinking is, to what extent do we want to reopen this? And what are the risks involved?
I don't think,
It's not an argument for liking MCAS per se.
it's a pretty big topic, so I don't think we're going to solve this one
No,
today,
definitely
so-
not.
Just a reminder, the federal legislation mandates the tests, so it's,
Some kind of test, yes.
Fun fact.
And I do
I don't know
think
how flexible they are.
that is a real equity issue from last year, because those kids had to actually take it to be eligible for that scholarship, correct?
You have to
The,
graduate, you need to take it.
No, you need to take it, but in last year's circumstances, there's a
Yes.
scholarship offered if you get a certain score on the MCAS. And
Scholarship.
but some kids really need those scholarships to the
Well,
community colleges and things like
Oh,
that.
I thought you were talking about the UMass.
Well, it is
Yeah, the
UMass, but it's also
Abigail
Bunker
Adams
Hill. There are a lot of,
scholarships
yeah, there are a
that
lot
associated
of,
with MCAS.
yeah, schools associated with that. So
Yeah.
I think you'd have to listen to the discussion on that.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
I have, in terms of MCAS, are the students with learning differences are also provided accommodations? So is there a view that we need a different type of testing? What is the discussion heading? Is it to provide different accommodations, or is it just different tests?
That's what Alexa was asking is, you know, is this to advocate for an option B for students, right? Who maybe the standard MCAS isn't reflective of their, you know, educational attainment, or is this to give something in lieu of the MCAS? And we don't know, so we'll find out more in the conversation on the 6th. Okay. Okay.
So
So school committees and receivership.
there's just, I think we're hearing a lot about it.
Lawrence.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a tug of war.
Yeah.
Have to
I
listen to the
think that
conversation.
that one's gonna get complicated.
Mhm.
That will be in real live time, I
Mhm.
think. Electric school buses,
Oh, wait. We're on. Yep.
7 is.
The way they go,
7 is
yep.
School committee,
Mhm.
8 is electric school buses.
Yes.
Hey, can I give you good news? We're getting one of our electric buses next week.
Great.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Exciting.
Well, and the MASC is gonna petition Congress for $30 billion to improve electrical supply infrastructure and provide electric buses and charging stations.
Again, it
Great.
was in the infrastructure bill. Don't know.
I know.
I got an email that some of it is in the infrastructure bill, but it was for low-income districts.
Oh, it's great.
So-
Yeah. Okay, and 9, prohibiting the use of Native American mascots.
Still a few out there. A lot of them have switched.
Mhm.
Neshoba did. Yeah. Yeah, there's some. I was talking to somebody about it the other day. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
My district's in that conversation at home.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay.
So that's 9.
Yep.
Great.
That's it.
Okay.
We'll figure out who will join you
Okay.
and
I trust the delegates to make the right decision. Will not be me.
Okay. Superintendent evaluation. So mostly just wanted to check in, begin just flagging this as something that's coming down our way quickly. We start having the meetings in January. Right now, we need to sort of talk about last year. Alexa and Heather oversaw and shepherded us through the whole process. And we need to have a conversation about who will be doing that this year.
I'm happy to do it again. I actually kind of enjoyed it. I like words, like
I would
writing.
definitely not put 2 new people on it.
What?
I would not put 2. I would have to have some continuity because it's,
Oh, yeah, great. Okay, great. Someone want to join me? Going once, twice?
I mean, I'm happy to join and learn. It's whoever would like to join you, but
Yeah,
I did watch your process. I thought you guys had a great, from an outsider looking in last year, I thought you had a great process, and you had the numbers, you had the, the words, the verbiage that went with it was great.
Beautiful paragraphs that
Yeah, I
sound
like my
organic
paragraphs.
and that were.
But I'm also happy to let somebody else do too.
No, I think it's good
just
to have
need a
somebody
bodyguard.
who's going to be around here for a
Mhm.
while.
all right.
Thank
All of
you.
I'll take I'll take anybody.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Thank you for your service.
Fantastic.
Okay, that was easy.
Vision Concord.
So sort of like, so they want, the template is a little, weird, but I'll quickly go through it. We don't need to do all this work real time tonight.
That's what
And-
I was wondering. Is
No,
this
no, no.
more something as individuals we would
Submit or?
submit, or collectively as a committee, or?
Well, some of this
you
work
think?
is going to come from that's what I'm saying. I don't know all of the,
Right.
what has happened, what is happening. I've marked up mine with places that mention school. And they basically fall into, mentions a few times regarding transportation. And then farther down, innovative use of facilities, maintain town properties that are appropriate for active and necessary town-related services. Not exactly sure what that means. Assess public facilities and public safety capacity and needs, which include staffing, buildings, outdoor space, and location for space and staff planning. So facility planning, which I think those concerns or issues were addressed with the capital planning task force. So a lot of these things I think is work in progress. Enhance collaborative efforts between all town departments, commissions, boards, and groups to improve efficiency, help prioritization, and ensure contextual design in projects related to roadway improvements. Okay. So the response is due back on the 10th. We do have another meeting. I'm just trying to think of the most efficient way.
My suggestion is we dig in and bring you a draft.
Okay.
Want to be more hands-on with it or assign one of you
No.
to be more hands-on?
I mean,
It's pretty
just,
straightforward from what I
yeah,
could tell.
it's just, there's some sustainability questions that I think we need to, committee to discuss a little more deeply, but not tonight. No, but that sounds like more of a town coordinated effort, but maybe the region should think about. Anyway, those kinds of things. And we don't have to say we've solved all these. We just say, do we have any kind of plan in place?
We can, we'll whittle it down to what's school-related and get a working document for you to use.
Okay. Good. I think that's good. So, they want it short.
Yes.
They're not looking for
Yeah.
a report or anything of that nature. So it's
The action chart, yeah, maybe
Yes.
something like a chart.
it's probably need to be redrawn. It's not easy. So like, I think they said any major new long-range goals and actions not reflected. You probably have a few.
Yep.
So, all right.
Okay.
And then there's a meeting on the 15th, correct?
Yes,
That we're invited
Yes.
to participate in?
correct. Yeah.
Will we send like a representative of the school
I
committee?
think it's supposed to be a joint meeting.
A joint
It's
meeting?
all of us.
Yes. That was the
So
impression I got.
That evening,
Yeah.
Cynthia,
Yeah.
is the Special Education Parent Advisory Council Board meeting where we agreed to discuss the middle school building.
No, that's fine.
I'm going to attend that.
That's
Okay,
fine.
Great.
Divide and conquer.
I'm sorry?
Divide and conquer.
Okay, as long
Because I
as,
wasn't clear last night if we were all supposed to be
I
going
could
to
check in
that.
with Terry.
Or, yeah, if you could check in, that would be great. Or
I mean, if
if
we-
we
if we
representative.
don't
need
have
a
a
quorum.
If we don't have a quorum, we won't call a meeting and we'll just say we'll send
Okay.
two of us.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not going to be you have to choose if you all want to go to the CPAC, assume that's a public meeting.
Yep. Okay.
Or you feel you should go. All right, it's not a full agenda that.
Yeah, we got a full agenda. And that one's an important one to
May-
us, so.
Go back. The gift of Zoom is I
Yeah.
can be in two
Mhm.
places.
We
at
do
once.
have Justin and Laura Brand, I think, committed to that evening as well. So we have nice representation there.
Perfect.
I'll allow you to balance between.
All right. What's,
All right, on to court and the audit committee.
So you received the attachment, I trust. In fact, I'm
yes.
sure you did.
Mhm.
So bear with me for a second, just for purposes of public record. I will read to you just a couple of lines, if I can find it. I may have it.
Do you want my?
Thank you very much. So in particular, just so that this is very clear to everybody, the recommendations were that the district establish a fund in the general ledger to account for all debt issued, the annual payments, and the resulting year-end liability. And Jared worked with them, and the Understanding from the auditor is that, quote, they consider it to be sufficiently resolved. Anything else, Jared? And number two, continued improvements for accounting accounting for accounts payable at year end. Now, I've always been of a mind that any auditor isn't done until they make a recommendation. They're just going to keep digging until they can tell you something, and that's fine. Prior year issue, in the prior year, we recommended the district establish and implement procedures to properly report year-end accounts payable in the general ledger. So, Jared, you can do a better job than I. What this really relates to is how on, correct me if I'm wrong, June 30th, things have to get categorized somehow.
Correct. It's the end of year encumbrances.
Correct.
It's just the way that we encumber things in the way that they want them encumbered. So we roll them over. They want them rolled over, and we were in a way closing them out, and that was impacting the basically overstating the finances. And Ian is on here, and he can further explain if I missed anything.
Yeah.
No, that's right. So a lot of times, a lot of districts do this, and we actually we tried it last year, and the auditors didn't like it. And I guess the state told them to crack down on it a little bit. But basically, at the end of the year, we have encumbrances, and those encumbrances are things that we want to use a certain fiscal year's money for in the future. So like the electric bus is a good example. We had money at the end of the year. School committee voted to hold that money and use it for an electric bus purchase. That's an encumbrance. And a lot of times for reporting, districts, and we did it too, we did it exactly 1 year. They will book that as an expense just to make things look cleaner. And so in the FY21, they would book that as an expense, but it wasn't really an expense, it was an encumbrance. So we just got kind of unlucky where we did that for 1 year, and that was exactly the year that the state kind of wanted to crack down and make everyone kind of recognize it as an encumbrance. So it's actually a pretty easy fix, and it should be fine for this audit period. But it's a financial classification. It has no impact on budget or bottom line or anything. It's just a definition of how things are categorized.
So no impact on budget or bottom line, or even visibility and accountability of those few carryovers, once called encumbrances.
Right. It's all financial statement presentation.
So in short, as I've said before, the auditor, Melanson and Heath, did their due diligence and came up with these two findings. Consider one done, complete, satisfactorily managed, and the other one being cleaned up as we speak, now that we're cognizant of what they want.
Yep, exactly.
Thank you. Thank you, Ian.
Thanks, Ian.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments?
No?
All right, then we will turn to Jared for updated 5-year budget projections.
All right. I'm gonna share my screen. Or do you want to start?
Yeah, we'll just set context of where we were before and what's happened since. So we met with the finance committee last week and shared what we had for 5-year projections. What their ask was when we were there was that we flesh that out to do the entire budget. We had picked high priority categories that tend to have the most impact. So Jared's been working through that. I think in the process of outlining the entire budget in a 5-year projection, which is a first time we've ever done, and it's the first time we've been asked for it. I think also clarity of processes became part of the story Jared wants to be sure we talk on, especially the regional assessment piece. It can get very confusing, and want to be sure everyone's clear, both all of you and the finance committee. And they're going to meet again on Thursday night and use those pieces of information at a high level, but also to help inform their guideline for FY23. Before then, we're going to meet with the Carlisle Finance Committee tomorrow night, and we can share some of the projections for them as well. So those are both beneficial to all of us and both communities to get a sense of where numbers are going to go, with the caveat, of course, that the farthest years out are true projections based on what we know with some placeholders in, especially for special education tuitions, which is really hard to predict, if not impossible. So Jared will talk you through what he's been working on, some of it's background information, some of it the projections, and maybe let him go through, and then we're happy to answer any questions. I think we want you to feel like you're as fully informed on all of this as possible tonight.
Great. So yeah, this is a lot of new data, especially on the regional piece. And as Dr. Hunter just said, I'm gonna try and really explain how the assessments work, because it's not a straight enrollment assessment. There's other revenue that is involved that would skew the numbers if we use the October 1 enrollment. So I'm going to start with some of the questions that we just got from the FinCom, and I'll go quickly through these. They were, someone was asking about, show us the CTA and the CCTA salary information. They have the same step and lanes. They have parity when it comes to the salary chart. So that's what that is. Another question was, okay, how much is it a percent increase in between lanes? So if you have a lane change, you can see here the percentages. The biggest one is obviously the master's. Second biggest is the bachelor's 15. Teachers have to get their master's within their first 5 years of teaching. So another question was, what is the increase in steps? So they get cost of living increase, or COLA, plus every year, if you're still on the step and lane scale, you get an additional 4% up until step 15. And then since 16 is the last step, that is a 5.79% increase. I just wanted to show a couple of examples. First year teacher. So first year teacher starts as a Bachelor 1, making $52,942. Next year, they get their COLA of 2.5%. That's in the contract currently. Plus they get their step. So that's a 6.6% increase. Year 3, they go for a lane change. They go from a bachelor to a bachelor step 15, a bachelor's 15 step 3. And as you can see, there's a 12.21% increase. Year 4, they're still on bachelor's 15. And there's again the 6.6% increase, using 2.5% as a COLA assumption. Then that last year, the 5th year, assuming that they get their master's, you can see there's a significant increase. The next one is just an example of a teacher with some tenure. So this particular example had 13 years of experience in the district. So they started here 13 years prior. They are master's step 30, master's 30 step 13, and making $104,000. Their department chair, they get a stipend for that, $10,408 if they have over 9 people that they're overseeing. We have another percentage for people that have a smaller department, and 7%. They get their longevity, and then there's the totals. Year 2, same exact thing. Longevity, step 14, 2.5% increase, because the way that longevity works, it is 2% of the top of the bachelor's for 10 to 14, 3% for 15 to 19, and so on. The year 3, 2.75% COLA, step 15, again, department chair stipend. Now they're on the 15th step for longevity. That's an increase up to $3,064. And then you can see what the total percent increase is. Year 4, they are then step 16, so it's a bigger increase on their steps. Again, department chair stipend, longevity 16, and then the total. And last is year 5, and you can see the increase. So just wanted to show what a 5-year of somebody with 13 years of experience that stayed on the same step get for raises.
Can I ask a question about what you said, the department chair? Are there 2 different, if you supervise under 9 people, is it one stipend, and over 9 people, it's another
Correct.
stipend?
There's one for 7 and under, and they actually have years, term 1 through 3 is one rate.
Okay.
And then term 2 is a different rate. So I assumed this person was in their second term, and that was the 10,408, and they're overseeing over nine people. So use social studies, for example.
Mhm. Okay. And can they be a department chair for more than 2 terms? Yes.
I know we have at least one right now that's been there for
Okay.
more than 2 terms.
There's a 3-year threshold in there to review and see if anyone else is interested.
Okay. Thank you.
After 3 years, you said?
Yeah, it's a 3-year term.
Okay, cool.
Do you want to do CTA later?
Mhm.
Yeah, so skip the Concord stuff.
Okay, so CCTA salary information, for those of you that were there on Thursday night, we projected the CCTA at 156 FTEs, which overstated actually the FTEs, but it overstated the amount that our obligation by about, it was roughly $2 million. While it had no financial impact, it was incorrect. I should have known because every single one of these steps was a round number. That's never the case. So we since corrected that. For this piece, this is as of, this is current. This is as of this week. We have about 137.2 FTEs for the CCTA, and that's where they are on the step and lane scale.
Go back for a second. I'll do later. It's okay. Yeah.
So one of the collective bargaining kept coming up. We just wanted to show it in one place. The CCRSD has 6 units that are in at the high school. So this is a new slide that I just wanted to show you. This is in the 2020 evaluation, and this is our OPEB schedule. We will be fully paid. I was saying 2038, that is debt. 2039 is the full, when we expect to be fully funded. The way that you sort of read this, it's very confusing. It's not very intuitive. Normal cost plus expenses, that's the fiscal year costs for providing benefits for this year's employees in the future.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's what that column is. The amortization, that's the catch up for the prior years before we started the OPEB fund. We have to pay for years that we started late on. The ADC is the normal cost plus the amortization. And the projected annual benefit cost, that's the amount we paid for retiree costs for those years. It's the pay-as-you-go amount. It's confusing.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a new one of these.
Yes, we're getting a new one. So this is subject to change. And then the cash contribution is the amount to add to the OPEB fund to get to the 100% fully funded amount by 2039. And then the last column is just our unfunded liability. So as of the when this came out 2 years ago, the end of fiscal year 2021, we were just under about 12 million. Well, just under 11.9 million. So this will change, and it's every 2 years we get a new evaluation. Okay, here's the fun part. So it's very so one of the directives, one of the asks of the finance committee was they wanted to know how much Concord's assessment is going up each year, and they wanted it by a number of different categories. So to do that, you really have to understand how the regional agreement formula works, because there's different sections of what they're calling buckets that we assess at different percentages. So this first sheet is with, if you remember back in the spring, this with the extra money at the end of the year, the school committee agreed to increase the E&D contribution for FY22 from $300,000 to $600,000. all of my assumptions, I went back to the 300,000, assuming that was a one-time thing. I just wanted to show that because here is what the current assessments are with the 600,000. But for all of my assumptions, I'm using the 300,000. So the way that you do this is we break out our operating budget, which is everything which excluding transportation and debt. From that amount is the 30,801,531. From there, you get another, $3.2 million in revenue. We then offset the operating amount. And then we assess that difference, which is 27,544,000, and use the October 1 enrollment on that amount. Then we separate the transportation. The total transportation cost is $765,931. That excludes the bus leases in the buses, which is in the operating budget. That's just an exclusion. Therefore, that assessment is the difference between those two numbers. So for Concord, it's 7308. For Carlisle, it's 2623. And then we break out the debt. So therefore, this is what we assess, or this would be the assessment at E&D at 300,000. All of my numbers are going to add up to this 24,608,739 for Concord and 7,218,000 for Carlisle. And I'll show you how that works. So the first thing we had to do is the enrollment projections. So FY22, we know those. Those are set in stone, 77.32 and 22.68. The other next 5 years are projected amount based on enrollment trends. Ian went in and he looked at Carlisle's enrollment, and these were our best assumptions. So then what we had to do is I broke out the total budget into these different buckets. So it's the CCTA teachers, it's the non-teachers, insurance, OPEB, contract services, supplies, equipment, software, hardware, and leases, and retirement, special education tuitions, the general fund portion, early retirement, sick leave buyback, utilities, other, which includes a number of different things that are uncategorized. So those are our total costs. So this is the operating. If you added all of those up, those are our operating costs. Then we have our transportation, and then we have the debt. All of that adds up to our budget right here with debt, 35,759,374, and then our without debt totals. Here are the total 5-year projections you can see. Total budget, not assessed, but the total budget. And then here is our additional revenue piece. We also, we projected out, we were conservative with that. We projected about 25,000 a year for Chapter 70 and 25,000 for Chapter 71. So from there, what we then had to do is we then had to take, okay, what is that $27 million in the operating budget? And what does that mean to Concord? As you know, in FY22, the enrollment was 77.32 to whatever Carlisle was. Therefore, the remaining amount, instead of the 77.32%, 69.14% in FY22. And we took the enrollment. The enrollment is increasing like 0.09 in FY23. So Concord's going up a little bit in 23, and then it starts treading down. So for FY24, it's 68.84% of that remaining money. And it's 68.44, and it's 68.81, and then a drastic decrease in FY27. Again, here is our assessed transportation and debt projections. Therefore, for Concord, the 5-year totals, FY23 with debt projecting 2.99%. Without debt, which is what they care about, it's excluded, it's 3.74. And here are our projections all the way through the next 5 years. As you can see, FY27 really sticks out because we're projecting a significant increase in Carlisle's portion that year. So from there, we wanted to say, okay, that's Concord's portion. Now what is Carlisle? So again, if you added up Ccta teachers, Concord's was 10 million. This is only 3. Again, because that additional revenue is making up that difference. And that's why you add these two together, they don't add up, but they do add up to the 27 million, which is subtracting the additional revenue.
They don't add up to the 15.
Yeah, right. So we did the same thing with Carlisle. Their portion of the remaining amount in FY22 is 20.28%. 23 is 20.26%. 24 is 21.16%. And then 25, 21.83. 26, 21.73. And then, as you can see, a significant increase in FY27. Again, here's the transportation and the debt assessment. And then for Carlisle, here is the projected 5-year totals. And they actually, I think they care with debt. It's not excluded. So 2.46 in 23, and a big increase in 24 of 7.62, 6.15, was down in FY26, and then significantly back up in FY.
But these are all just projections based on what we perceive to be the trends. This could all not materialize.
It could
Right,
all
yeah,
not
just making sure.
materialize.
Okay.
But what we had to do is we had to build it off FY22's budgeted amount.
Yeah.
We budgeted off of the actuals. It all wouldn't line up. There's another piece too that is important to note. We have additional expenses that are outside of what they call the guidelines, and that is your revolving accounts, that is your grants. So for CCRSD, we have an additional $3,630,438. That's a ballpark of additional expenses, whether it's coming special tuitions through circuit breaker, whether that's our MECO grant, or athletic revolving, food service. That's the true picture of how much we're spending. But the guideline amount is what is on these sheets.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I know it's a lot of information, and it's but I think one of the things that really stuck out here is the Carlisle piece.
Carlisle.
I think if we hadn't done this exercise, we would have known they're probably getting at least a 1-year advance of what this looks like, because it's gonna really impact them in 24.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if it had been done 5 years ago, then Concord would have.
I mean, it's where our declining enrollment in the elementary schools in Concord starts to catch up towards the high school.
Yes.
And we're gonna have to watch it carefully, because it isn't filling in as they age up to be equitable to where we are now, at least not so far.
Yeah.
They're still pretty young, obviously, so. It's a useful tool for that purpose, for sure.
This is a lot of useful tools, I
Yep.
think. I feel like there's a lot that you can use this stuff for going forward
No question.
in a way that we didn't really have a way of wrapping our brains around some of this information. So thank you, Jared. This was really, really helpful. Especially that breakout of the assessments.
Yeah.
Because I know I had always operated under the sort of 75, 25.
Yeah,
right,
it's
number.
confusing.
I didn't understand this
That
whole
is
60
extraordinary.
upgrade.
Thank
It's
you.
Yeah, it's very
921
confusing.
thing instead.
The CPS side is easy because it's one, with this, I was like, wow. Because I could have just assumed the 77-3, I could have assumed that split, but it would not have been real. And I couldn't present that.
Thank you
Okay,
for
thank you.
explaining that in a way that is
That makes sense?
understandable and so thorough.
And does Carlisle ask for that same breakdown? Just out of curiosity.
No, this is new. This is a new,
This is a new way of looking at it.
yeah.
Okay, okay.
based on Concord's ask of how much their assessed portion is going up.
Mhm.
Because that's really the only way we could have done it.
And are you going to present this the same way to Carlisle? I mean, you'll now take this to Carlisle's FinCom meeting.
We're going there
When
tomorrow
Carlisle
night.
found out that Concord was doing this 5-year exercise, they said, oh, that could be really interesting.
Okay.
to us too.
Yeah, we'll definitely share it with them tomorrow.
Oh, so definitely they want to.
Mm-hmm.
Will you be there or no? Please let me know.
I will not
have a
be there because
conflict?
now I have a school committee meeting tomorrow night.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
Oh, I'm supposed to be there.
I think so.
Okay.
Soon.
All these things are blended
Yeah,
together.
it's-
Okay. What time is that? Oh,
We are scheduled for 7:45.
okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Jared.
transportation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so on to our action items. The first one is to first begin to discuss this vote to approve transportation COVID bonuses. And I don't know if, do we need any introduction to this or, I mean,
can-
okay.
Quickly just
Yep.
say, transportation, as you all have heard, the school bus driver pool is very thin. We're very grateful for what our drivers have done for us over the last, well, always, but especially over the course of the pandemic. And we want to be sure that we're securing them. It's a pretty competitive environment right now. A neighboring district's offered, another district who has their own in-house bus system, unlike those who's contracted out, has just posted for incentives. And so we just thought the need was there to at least bring it to all of you as an attention getter. You know, the governor's called up the National Guard to help other districts. So it's a discussion of whether you want to consider a retention incentive, essentially. I know we use the word COVID. I think we're in the situation we're in for the pool of people because of COVID, but
Sure.
that's the only COVID connection. It really is a shortage of workers.
Potential.
So we're
We don't want that.
posing it for you to consider whether you want to try to do a thing. And just a reminder, they took a 1-year extension last year, so we're at the bargaining table this year. We just thought it needed to be brought up for discussion.
Just to remind us, where not everybody continued to pay everybody in their districts.
Right.
During the beginning of COVID, where we did choose.
We did pay them all through, and I think that was a big part of our retention through the pandemic because they were able to stay fiscally sound as individuals and be available to us when we reopened. I mean, in April, when we went from hybrids settings and halftime settings to fully reopened, it was really important that they were immediately available, and other districts really struggled to turn on that quick switch. So in our, let's just talk kids for a minute. They are incredibly dedicated to the safety and welfare of our children and do an incredibly great job of that. And
The ability to pivot the way they have and.
yeah,
How many drivers?
Different schools and
Yeah.
in the schools overall.
I asked this last time, and of course I've forgotten. How many drivers do we have?
37.
Yeah.
I thought it was 47, but it's
37.
I was gonna say 47.
Glad I didn't ask.
Yes. Yeah,
New
we
number
checked
to
that this afternoon. We also did find out that the neighboring district did pay their drivers through the pandemic. So that's equitable. We've seen their salary schedule. It's within band. It really is about whether you want to offer an incentive, I think.
I'd be prepared to support an incentive that was clearly a incentive to get us through the end of the year in as stable a position as possible. I say that knowing that other bargaining groups could misinterpret, that our concern for their stability and well-being is less than that of what we're extending to transportation. That would not be correct.
Of course.
However, I think when we look at the local, regional, and national marketplace, we know that transportation is in fact unique. And there's data to support it, that this is a clear and present threat to the district, but not in an extreme sense, given the effective leadership we have here. People choose their work. They also choose their work environment, and they also choose their leaders. And there's a reason why we have the loyalty that we have in this district. It's not just the compensation, which is nothing to sneeze at. It's not just the working conditions, which I think are second to none, but it's also the leadership. And I think we're going to continue to expect the leadership to generate the loyalty we need and not have this be financial and transactional only, but rather have that be something that is, in fact, secondary to everything else, even though it's important.
They're a great group, and they, I think, are thriving under John Arena's leadership and the climate and culture he's built there. So I agree with Court.
And we are very well positioned with the amount we have at our disposal with respect to COVID relief funds. It's not like you're in.
You want to talk where you would
So I would
suggest?
not take this out of the ESSER 3 funds.
Yep.
This would, what I was thinking, this would come out of ESSER 2.
Yep.
Front it, and then if there is potentially a surplus, move it back, because I want to carry that into 23 if possible. But I use that right now for, if we need PPE or something that is not, I haven't dipped into it yet.
Yeah.
It is sort of a contingency for, PPE.
Sure.
And it would
Seems
be
like an
split.
appropriate use.
It'll be, we have Concord drivers, and then we have Concord Carlisle drivers. So we would use both of those. It wouldn't be just coming from one.
I think to your point, I think it is a very unique situation that does not extend to the other units. And I share the same concerns that it would be like a misinterpretation of extraordinary gratitude for this one unit. But again, I think the conditions on the ground are plain and clear. So this makes sense to me.
And Court, so if I'm hearing you correctly, if you were to modify this, you would, one, change bonus to incentive, and two, change December of 2021 to June of 2022.
That is.
Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, that is correct. I can't overstate my reticence around anything considered a bonus in the public sector. I don't think there's such a thing. That's my view. But
It's a
Retention incentive.
yeah, it's the superintendent and the finance director have characterized this as retention incentive.
Sure.
Which indeed is what I think we would hope it would be. I think it is a significant number. That's not a small number. And I think we're fortunate that we have ESSER 2 funds that can accommodate this.
Okay.
And in fact, I think very much in keeping with the idea behind the ESSER funds.
Absolutely.
What are the extraordinary needs that have come our way to get us through this period?
Definitely fits in the extraordinary category.
Do you think the timing of the payment would have any impact on retention?
I think we'd have to go over and talk with them, just so you know, what we're reminding everyone what we're comparing. If we're
Sure.
them, they're seeing a $500 signing bonus in the nearby district, and then 1,000 in December and 1,000 in June,
My.
which would not recommend that here. So I I think we talk them through and then make sure they feel incredibly supported and
Okay. I guess, would there be any thought to doing 500 in December and 500 in
I
June?
think that's a thought for the committee
Yeah.
to talk on.
Mhm.
I'd be comfortable with any of those options.
Mhm.
I would be comfortable with the 500.
Any of the three, yeah.
Okay, so
What's the next step?
somebody make
Somebody ready to make a motion, maybe?
amended motion. Let's
Yeah,
see.
amend what, just don't use what's there. Amend it as you go. If you don't.
I'll entertain a motion to approve a $500 incentive bonus to be paid out in December of 2021 and a $500 incentive.
Retention incentive.
Retention incentive, thank you, for each school bus driver to be paid in June of 2022. Did I get it right or no?
The first time should be, it should be.
Same.
Yeah, retention incentive.
Yeah.
To approve a $500 retention incentive for each school bus driver paid in December, and then 1,000 be paid.
No, 500. Didn't you say two 500s?
Yeah, I would
Okay.
support that, sure.
Oh, that's what we need to,
Yeah.
or do people?
I think that was your motion, a December 500 and a June 2022 500.
Mhm.
I'd be happy to second that if that's how others heard the motion, so we can discuss it.
Yeah, let's have a second and discuss it. No, I change it.
Does this presume that the recipients are in our employ as of December 31 and as of June 30th? Or some other date certain so that we know what we're doing here?
I would need probably a date. If we did 12/1 or 6/1 or 12/15, 6/15.
Oh,
With a little lead time, yeah.
About 12/15 and last day of school.
Or does that go with the pay schedules of when?
We can make it work.
That may be petty, I don't know. I think it's important we get to the end of the year.
or just the June 15th pay, is it?
I'd live with June 15th.
And if you put a clear date, then that's the cutoff and we can just use that. So, God forbid if you did 12/15 and somebody left on 12/14, that's going to happen. It's spelled out that you have to be here at 12/15.
Sure.
Are there any current vacancies right now or no?
We could always use extra drivers.
Yeah.
Right.
John's driving a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
It's a day-to-day, it's a day-to-day scramble. We're not gonna, we probably should have led with that. Yeah,
Well,
we're
and-
not
and I
short,
guess-
we're not so short we can't pull it off, but it's a day-to-day juggling act.
We have subs, but oftentimes,
Yeah, actually, I've noticed that.
one of the things too, we're a little bit concerned with is once the boosters start happening, those days, we could be short as well. So we're always trying to hire.
So you're hiring subs, but not full-time drivers right now?
Both.
Both, you're hiring both. So if
Sure.
somebody were to start, I'll just say December 1st, would they be eligible for this?
I
Yes.
think you'd want to give us,
We would need to
technically right
discuss
now, they would be based on what you've been talking about.
Okay.
Does anybody want to counter the amounts, though? That's the important thing.
500, 500.
I'm very comfortable with it, especially in light of the fact that other districts seem to be giving 2,500. I think this is reasonable.
This is a vote for both districts.
Correct.
A vote for what?
Both districts.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
You can amend if you,
Well, no, I mean, I was just wondering if we do 500 and 1,000 just to really,
get a little boost.
Mm.
to give it a boost and to make it an incentive for staying.
Okay.
Thoughts?
I like it. 500, so she's saying 500 December and 1,000 in June.
You've heard our drivers, they are fully aware of these incentives.
We brought it to you
It's
because they are
the-
fully
yeah.
aware of what's being offered.
mean-
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, it's, before I had kids in the district, I never expected that a bus driver would be such an impactful person in my child's day, to the point where, as a family, we become very emotionally attached to some of them, depending on the year. So I could be supportive of that amount as well. I think people really don't recognize until you have kids here how important these guys are.
As are all of our employees.
Of course.
Yes.
But again, everybody comes in knowing that the teacher or a guidance, but I don't know.
It's a particularly hard hit
Yeah.
profession right now, so.
And they did, they did extend the 1 year on the
They did.
contract,
They did.
which I think
Right.
I just, my only argument for that is to
Competitive.
make the incentivizing.
Yeah, compelling. How about that?
Well said.
Someone would make an amendment?
I'm not good at that jargon. Anyone else?
Why don't you withdraw your motion and make
I'll withdraw my motion. There you go.
it easier?
There you go. You're so smart. Okay, I withdraw my motion, or whoever moved it.
Do you want to make a new one, Sarah?
I can't make.
Oh,
No, that's why, I don't know who actually.
I move that the Concord and Concord Carlisle school committees authorize a retention incentive for our transportation workers for both districts in the specifically drivers, in the form of a $500 retention incentive to be paid by the end of the year or thereabouts for those in our employ on December 15th, and a $1,000 retention incentive to be paid at the end of the school year for those in our employ on June 15th, 2022.
I will second that enthusiasm.
Well done.
Okay.
Well done.
Any further discussion? I think we could do our
Roll call?
Yes.
Anderson, I for both.
Booth, aye for both.
Morano, I for both.
Coffee, I for Jen.
Rainey, aye for both?
Wilson for region.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I know that will be greatly appreciated.
Okay. Where are we now?
Now we are, well, we did not use up our 15 minutes of public comment time, so I don't think, but I guess we can give the community a chance if anybody has a public comment that they'd like to.
Do
we have one more?
Sustainability.
Oh,
on the-
sorry.
on the agenda?
We did not. I jumped the gun.
Okay.
We need a representative to the Superintendent Sustainability Committee.
Just so you know what you're signing up for, Jared and Kristen.
Oh my
Jared
God.
and Kristen have been working on a schedule of meetings every other month for the year, so it's a minimal
What time?
time commitment. If you want to be part of anything in between meetings, like we expect a number of the members will be, that's up to you, but it's every other month.
The next meeting is?
The meeting coming up.
Yep. I'm just gonna find somebody who can make it. That's the first.
Exactly.
That'll get you off to a list. Good start.
How do I say November 9th?
It might. I think we went to Tuesday. I think you both went to Tuesdays, so it may be the same day as a school committee meeting. Some
And
of
it's,
them, I think they're Tuesday afternoons.
3 o'clock or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I assume they're gonna be Zoom.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it, Cynthia?
No, I can't.
Oh, okay. I'm happy to do it.
Sure?
Yeah, totally. I couldn't tell.
No.
I couldn't tell. if you
It's like, look,
said.
Tell with the mask.
Yes, I'm fine to do it. Tuesdays are fine for me.
Great, awesome.
Great.
If it's Tuesdays. I'm looking at
These masks, I can't tell what anyone's
I
thinking,
know.
feeling.
I would have said.
Okay, just
I
making
move that
sure.
Alexa Anderson be appointed
that too.
as the school committee representative to the Superintendent Sustainability Committee.
I'll second it.
Discussion?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call, please.
Anderson, I.
Booth, aye.
Morano, I.
Mustafi, I.
Rainey, aye for both.
Wilson for region. Okay.
And it's a Both districts, right?
Yes.
Now, if you are joining us and you would like to share anything during public comment, please either turn on your video or use the raise hand button on the participants tab. And once and twice. Okay, and if there are no more public comments or no public comments, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn the regional part of this meeting.
Second,
Roll call.
Anderson, I.
who's aye?
Morano, I.
Mustafi, aye.
Rainy eye.
And Wilson, aye.
There you go.
Thank you very
night.
much.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Night, Evan.
Bye.
And so Concord School Committee, do you think we're ready to plow through?
We can do it.
Try to get to that storm outside.
I'm gonna run.
Oh.
So let's see. Wait a few minutes.
Sure.
With,
My suggestion with the elementary improvement plans, they are building based, but they're differentiated based on a common K-5 set of goals. So you might want all three of them on
You lead,
together, and then they can dive into what's different.
At each school.
We'll be efficient.
sounds great.
Great.
Let's,
All right.
let's get them on camera.
They're ready and waiting while they're telling me some of their power is flickering. So let's
Oh,
see
boy.
how things go.
Sure, that's what all the
Okay,
principals
so
say.
now.
I know it's.
I'll be right back. Now.
But it's flickering in here too. No.
There's no excuse. I did a whole FinCom meeting from my driveway when the power went out back, oh, when was that? Early COVID. April
that
of
doesn't
2020.
happen.
I was in the car for hours.
Oh, you grab it.
Not preferred.
I've got this. So are we doing safety checks at 4 a.m. tomorrow? And see what's flooded and what's not? Yes.
Little nor'easter. It's not snow, everyone.
I've lost my quorum, so you'll just have to.
Yeah,
wait a minute.
clearly you're gonna have to wait just a sec.
I'll have to get a retention incentive here. It's fine.
Cookie. I should have taken
One
a
more
cookie.
minute. Might have muted us.
Did you already like trash trucks on Instagram?
I
had to
did.
do
I
that.
liked
Well,
all the
yeah,
photos.
I did.
Starting on that, Tracy.
I
That's half an hour
know.
ago.
No numbers over.
It's good. They don't have a lot of posts, but they've got followers. They're
See the
great.
sum total,
Yeah, I see.
Trash trucks.
and I added the
Trash
columns.
trucks on Instagram. I'm gonna
Maybe the
find them.
totals.
Yeah.
Trash.
My teachers now for my pickups.
Flies on you, Mr.
Mhm.
Stanton.
Read.
Should we start it? Give court one more minute.
Yeah.
I'm gonna mark him tardy.
Not when he's been here since 5:30. We're not gonna mark him tardy. Here he comes.
All right. Dr. Hunter, do you want to kick off the conversation or?
Sure, really, really briefly. So the three elementary principals are here to give you updates, and we're going to stay focused on the updates. You saw these plans in the spring, and we were pretty clearly giving disclaimers about where we were in the time when we wrote them. The summer and early fall's given us a chance to revisit, and I think you'll see that has paid off with some really rich goal setting and activities planned for this coming year.
Great.
And just a reminder, they're driving them off the strategic plan, so some are common, and then we've been purposeful in breaking out what's different. So each building has its own building-based plan.
Awesome.
So do you want to just talk on differences? Maybe, I'm sure you guys have choreographed that.
So just to begin, thanks, Lori, and thanks to the school committee for having us on tonight. You're right on the money, Lori, that the plans that were submitted do have some differences that are in the addendums at the end, each for each specific school, and that the plans themselves were submitted last spring, updated slightly, for example, to include our work with the COVID screener and the pooled testing and all the rest. So we'd like to really focus in on the work that we've been doing individually and with the mindset always of sharing. So you'll notice that there's some work being done in one building that is intended to be piloted in one and to be shared with the others. So I think we're going to turn it over. I think, Naomi, were you going to begin?
I was, yes. Would you like me to screen share? Is that helpful?
Sure. I have it. Sure. Why don't you pull it up? We have it in front of us, but just
devices, but
for the sake of the recording, pull it up.
I will give you.
It looks like I can. So does that work? Perfect.
Can you just zoom in to like 150% instead of the 100?
Oh, well, yes.
That works. Oh, yep. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm just going to talk briefly on some of the new initiatives that weren't in the spring that distinguish Alcott's plan from the other two buildings. Although, as Matt said, there's still some similarities because we worked this all off of the overarching district goals. So I'll just start with the overarching district initiative of multiple paths to success. And so we really thought at Alcott, what could we do to ensure, particularly after two really atypical years, that all of our students were able to access curriculum and were able to make effective progress. And so one of the things that we did and are continuing to do this year was ensure that our teachers had the training that they needed to meet the needs of students with reading difficulties. And so we had several staff trained in Orton Gillingham this summer and others that are continuing to be trained this school year. We also are in year one, and this is work that'll be several years going forward, but we're in year one of learning about the Literacy Collaborative, which is an approach to a cohesive approach to a balanced literacy program, not program, but an approach to balanced literacy. Right now, it's something that just our ELA curriculum specialist and our reading specialists are learning about, but the intention is to be able to bring it back to other classes to support students to ensure that they're able to meet the needs of all of our students in literacy. And then the other piece under this that is different from the spring is that we're really focusing on reinvesting and sort of reinvigorating our RTI program. A lot of our specialists were teaching remotely last year, and so it's something that had to be paused a little bit. And so this year, one of the things that we're doing is using the CBMs, which is an assessment in the STAR reading program, to really progress monitor students and make sure that we are meeting them exactly where they need to be. So those are the things that are new from the spring until now under the multiple paths to success. Under well-being, a lot of the work we're doing under the well-being strand, it's things that paused because of COVID that we're trying to bring back. So one thing that we're working on is school-wide initiatives to really just school-wide initiatives to build connections among students. And so our buddy program is getting back up and running. That completely stopped last year. We are looking for ways to really reinforce the routines and procedures that we didn't have to do last year. Kids have had 2 years of a not typical experience. I'm sorry, I have move my cat, who has been sleeping for the past 2 hours, but woke up as I started to talk. But so we're looking
I
for.
was on a Zoom this morning and the presenter said, just take in the joy while the pet disrupts me for a minute. So we will do that.
So the other things that we're looking to bring back, our annual turkey trot, it'll be the first time that parents are able to volunteer at school in 2 years. We did postpone it. It was scheduled to tomorrow. There is a nor'easter, but things like that we're looking to bring back, and we're really excited about that. And then the other thing that we're doing is working really closely with the PTG to identify activities that help families build connection with each other. For 2 years, we have a lot of families that just don't feel connected right now. And so we're looking for ways to build that. With respect to inclusive culture, what we are, again, a little bit of this is work that we started that had to pause because of the pandemic. But one of the things that we're doing is really rebuilding our Metco Family Friends program, again, because we couldn't socialize last year, and for half of the year before that really sort of paused. And so we're trying to build that back. We are also working with Andrew, our Director of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and our MECO director to ensure that the practices that we're using are culturally responsive. We have some subgroups of teachers that are doing some work together in small professional learning communities. And that work, we're partnering really closely with Andrew and Heidi on that. And then the other thing, which is just sort of ongoing work, Alcott houses the program for students with emotional disabilities, and we're sort of in a growing period. So we're expanding, we're having new students, and the staff is growing. And so we're just spending a lot of time this year working around supporting that program. In terms of the innovative environment, what distinguishes Alcott from the other 2 buildings, one is that we are partnering with Green City Growers to really expand our outdoor classroom student garden opportunities. And then the other piece that we're doing, and this may not be different than the other 2 buildings, but with the one-to-one device, and we're being really strategic about how we use technology. Our technology specialists have to really think about how they're supporting technology differently. They don't need a technology lab anymore because all students have devices. So they're having to think about how they change their role. And so that's work that we're doing as well, shifting from having a technology lab to supporting in the classroom. And so that was a very quick rundown of some of our specifics, what separated Alcott from Thoreau and Willard. I think, Angel, are you going next? I'm going to stop sharing because I don't have yours.
Yes, I am. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Okay. Great. Hopefully this will be large enough for you to be able to see. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Great.
Nice.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. So although it seems like it might make sense for me to start all the way on the right, I am going to speak a little bit on the fire because it has been had a significant impact on the way that our learning environment looks and functions this year, but I will be sure to get to that at the end. With regards to multiple paths to success, we're trying to really define and flesh out and make very transparent our process for identifying students receiving response to intervention services. We're really looking to be transparent with parents and share specifically how we're identifying students in need for these services, making them aware, and then also giving them information about what specific intervention we're going to be using, what is the length of the intervention, how we're going to be progress monitoring, and then also sharing an entrance and exit criteria. And our SAC is very interested in doing that work with us, so we're excited to be as transparent as we can with regards to how we get in and out of RTI groups. Similarly to Naomi, and I believe all the other schools, we began this summer by training 8 teachers in the Orton-Gillingham approach to reading instruction to support students who were struggling with decoding and encoding beyond just giving them supports around comprehension. And our teachers are continuing that work this year. Quite a few are actually going to be doing the full practicum. So we're excited to support them in that work. We've needed that for a while, so we're happy about that. With regards to well-being, Again, because we were unable to do some of our social emotional response to intervention programs last year because of proximity issues, things like lunch bunch, social skills groups. We are really happy to be able to bring back those really important structures that help support the well-being of all of our students, and to help them sort of with navigating issues related to friendship, just connecting after being, for some of them, isolated for quite a while. So we're pleased to be able to bring that back. We also understand how difficult it has been not having parent volunteers within the walls of the school. On any given day, a year and a half ago, we may have had, 10 parents, some volunteering in the cafeteria, some in the library, some in the art room. So we're really thinking about opportunities to engage our parents and have them remain connected. One way that we did that this year, a small way, and we're seeking opportunities as we sort of negotiate each step of the pandemic as it continues on. So having parents volunteer to help coordinate with the outdoor picture taking was fantastic. And we're looking for more ways to partner with parents and bring them back, if not into the school, onto the school grounds. Parents seem to love doing being mystery readers over Zoom. That's been really fun. So we're getting very creative. Again, we are, last year we're trying out various different scenarios for how we could utilize technology to keep some of our school traditions alive, like the turkey trot, our book character parade. And we're continuing to do that this year. And we're also working very closely with our PTG to come up with some new traditions. We onboarded quite a large number of staff in the last couple of years, and a lot of them are bringing some fresh and exciting ideas to new community building events that we can do. So we're excited to do that. Again, with regards to inclusive culture, over the pandemic, one way that we were able to stay connected with parents and continue this work was we had our own core Thoreau parent-teacher group, where they would do readings and they would meet monthly just to discuss issues around core. So with that group already functioning, we have a new PTG multicultural group. So we're looking to ask Andrew to help us sort of bring our efforts all together so that it's everyone in the school community working towards the same goals. With the number of our special education students in programs increasing rapidly, we are really committed and focused on implementing best practices for promoting an inclusive school environment for our students, and also doing some parent education piece on how to engage in your children in conversations about why students may present in unexpected ways at times, and just promoting inclusivity, friendships, community building. Finally, looking at learning environments. So yes, little under 2 weeks after we closed our doors this summer, we had a fire that impacted a third of our school building. That has brought unexpected challenges and situations that have arisen over the course of that. But I think that, our goal, of course, is making sure that all of our students have safe and the best possible learning environments that they can have this year. So one big component of that, which has continued to change and evolve, and Lori can tell you, I foolishly had told some of the folks on the restoration team that I fully expected some of the classrooms to become online by August 15th. Clearly that didn't happen. And we are in the process of relocating classrooms again into the modular 94 wing. And thank you very much for approving the half day on November 12th, because we're really going to need to use that time to help all hands on deck get the teachers set up and ready for students on Monday. We have I know I heard a little discussion about the tent in your meeting earlier. We are going to hang on to that tent as long as we possibly can. We have got electricity powered to the tent this morning. We're hoping for heat by the end of the week, and we are going to continue to utilize that as another space as long as we can. But having students have to head outside for lunch And now to the modular, we are actively seeking to increase our staffing support. We did hire an additional noon aide to help because when we have to have indoor recess, we can't utilize the cafeteria like we used to. It's a classroom now. So we are utilizing all possible adults to allow students to safely move between buildings and tents and everywhere else.
Angel has this other revenue source called insurance. So it's interesting.
That tent
Yes.
is not going away, by the way. Your tent is not going.
Oh, that's the one Tracy was asking about.
Yeah, I was asking about that one. So it's the other tents, like at the high
can
school are
stay
going
year-round?
away, the middle school's going away.
Building inspectors, it's,
Yeah. They got to
Wow.
restake it like,
Okay.
weekly.
Weekly, so that the roast tent will stay
Roast.
indefinitely or snow or,
Probably. Sorry, I'm taking over.
sorry.
That will probably stay until at least the project's finished.
Okay, great.
So yeah, we actually have 3 tents right now. You probably wouldn't know if you were looking because one of the smaller tents was moved to the rear of the wedding tent, as the students refer to it. But we do still have 3 at the moment. So again, it's also important every step of the way that we are keeping everyone informed about the progress that we're making and just troubleshooting. I'm sure there are things that we're going to need to troubleshoot that I'm not even aware of yet, but my staff has shown incredible flexibility and patience and just support for one another as we just step by step. They've been incredible from day one. And as you can imagine, it was very emotional. You know, some teachers have been in their classrooms for over 20 years with a lot of teacher created materials that were lost. So it's been emotional for sure. But my staff has really shown who we are as a school community, and we can get through anything at this point. So
Angel, I'm going to give you a shout out in public too, because your steady, resilient leadership has made a big difference in how this is going. So
thank you.
thank you.
Matt.
Thank you, Angel.
Mhm.
I'll share mine next.
the line in the other elementary schools when they get a little anxious about something is, well, at least we didn't have a fire. You know, we're in this odd reality at Thoreau.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. So very similar to what you heard from Naomi and from Angel. What's exciting is the readiness of our staff to continue to grow and support students, and the work across the 3 buildings and sharing best practices. So in the area of multiple growth, you'll see once again that we likewise at Willard are investing in training in Norton Gillingham. A reminder that about 5 years ago, we had 2 members of staff who were trained in Wilson at Willard. And then we now have 6, and by the end of the year, we'll have 8. So having 6 more or 6 also trained in Norton Gillingham gives us greater flexibility in instructional practice to meet the needs of the kids. Likewise, with our investment in foundations across the district, Foundations is a product, an instructional practice developed by Wilson, and they created a means of addressing the results of a pandemic where there was fractured learning, and they created Ready to Rise. So our ELA specialist and a reading specialist were trained to teach using Ready to Rise, which is a process of identifying students in grades 1 and 2 using multiple means of assessment and to identify and attack the gaps in their learning. Now, why is that important? For all of us, there is a concern for students who have not had opportunities for regular instruction, but also to identify those students who might have an underlying disability. And to be able to identify these students early is the most important we can do, and then supply them with the appropriate interventions. So Ready to Rise was begun the second week of school after doing those assessments. 6 weeks is quickly coming to an end. And the good news is that we have seen growth by all the students. There are 24 students in grades 1 and 2 who were identified and who took part in this. And every day, these students would have an additional 1 hour of instruction. targeted in their particular areas. So as we are ready to summarize our findings, we'll be sharing them with both Thoreau and Alcott, but we're very, very excited by that. Likewise, Naomi mentioned earlier about the work that we've all done in STAR 360. There's another product that was developed by Dr. Nadine Gaab, who is one of the preeminent thinkers and researchers in dyslexia. And the product that she created was Early Bird. It was subsequently sold to a provider, but we have piloted the use of Early Bird in one of our kindergarten classes to get a sense of the value and the ease of implementation and how well we can use the information that it gathers. So I'll be reporting out on that as well. The initial feedback is that it is a very clear and powerful screening tool, and that the teacher and the specialists who are working with the students find it to be quite a boon to their work. So we'll be reporting out on that, and we're very happy to be sharing that information. Over on the well-being, again, yes, we're going to be working on ways to reinforce the routines and structures, and you heard that in the other buildings. And that's all expected, quite honestly, that our students will have those gaps in student-like behaviors and expectations. But boy, oh boy, we got a staff that's committed to doing that good work as in the other buildings, and we're already seeing gains. The third grade team is piloting Leader in Me. So as you know, the Open Circle curriculum is sunsetting. And so we have a team that we're working with, which is made up of, well, led by Kristen Herbert and with representatives from all three elementaries. This is not a replacement for Open Circle. It's not a curriculum or instruction, but rather a mindset. And it's a constant means of supplying the students with opportunities for leadership, building community, consensus, and how to think about, as a community, tackling some difficult issues. And whether that's how to share Legos or it's how to plan an outdoor garden in a successful manner. So it's a very interesting means of thinking about how we as a community need to refresh some of that after being isolated as we have been in our lives. The inclusive culture work, again, I applaud all those who supported Andrew's taking the position as Director of DEI. He's been a great resource to the community, and now even more so to Thoreau and to Willard, where he didn't have as much of a presence, and he is with us regularly, which is super. And also kudos to Kate Squire, who was the inspiration and the catalyst for the creation of the Willard DEI group. And it's a faculty staff-wide group. We gather regularly 4 times a year. There's a shared text that we read ahead of time and discuss. And I must say, it's the constant reflection and use of literature that inspires us to do better work. Our next read is going to be Beautiful Country, a memoir by Julie Wang. If you haven't read it, it's a very moving and heartfelt book. And often we are challenged to remember that our people, wherever we came from, at some point showed up on these shores, and we were not welcome either. And so to be humble and to read a modern story of perhaps the pain and suffering that our own families had, and to be human and sympathetic to the needs of others. So it's a wonderful read, and we're looking forward to having three others after this one. We've added another co-taught classroom, and we feel really good about that. So the co-taught classroom is in line with providing a least restrictive environment and working closely with our interim director of student services. How do we provide a least restrictive environment and provide access to regular ed curriculum? Well, we have built a fifth grade co-taught classroom about a decade ago, and we've added this to fourth grade. And it has been, again, one that we feel very good about. We do have some time allocated by an outside specialist who works with us with least restricted environment work. And so we're benefiting by that. And she also helps us get better at our co-teaching practices. So again, we'll be sharing that work with both Alcott and Thoreau. We are also doing some work. We enjoyed so much being outside. How do we build environments outside that are sustainable? We are revisiting the master plan of the Willard Elementary School as was designed by the architects when it was built. And the students are going to begin the challenge as a problem-based initiative to think about what is there, what is needed, and what needs to be replaced. They'll do the research, they will budget, and they will be part of the solution. Our best ideas regularly come from kids, so this will be another opportunity for that. And lastly, not to rush through, but another initiative that we feel very good about is, as you may recall, Willard and the other schools were part of Rivers and Revolutions that over the last 18 months has not been able to be sustained due to the restrictions of the protocols. One of our fifth grade teachers has picked up that mantle, and this year it has begun using a curriculum called Henry's Hat. It revolves around the life and experiences of Henry Thoreau, and we are using it as a means of getting outside. It's cross-curricular. And we are going over to White's Pond. I know it's not the right pond or body of water in town, but it's the one that's closest to us. And rather than walking to the pond every day after staff leaving the building as we did last year, this year the kids are going over. So again, I think what you've heard from all three schools is the earnest belief of continued growth while not having COVID dominate us, but rather working with the protocols, through the protocols, but also doing what's best for kids and still doing some really good work and being ready for the challenge of identifying students through progress monitoring and identifying the right interventions, but then also being creative and finding additional means of inspiration and keeping students well-being first and foremost, and students being welcome, but also having a thriving, exciting curriculum. So I think across the board, we're very happy and well, we're thrilled, quite honestly, with the work of our staff, and this represents their work, and we're very blessed every day to be surrounded by such thoughtful staff members. So are there any questions for us, school committee?
Well, I think we're in awe of your leadership and the people you're leading. And I think we are going to be one group that expresses gratitude on behalf of everybody in town for the way you prevailed during these times. We find you, all of you, more than articulate, more than eloquent. So thank you for that. Not only the content, but just the manner in which you bring this to us, the inspiration and the confidence that you share at this meeting. If it's any example of what kids and teachers experience every morning, thank you. Keep it up. We don't know how you do it, but keep it up. I have a specific question, if I might, and that is on the Literacy Collaborative. I didn't quite understand it fully. Is this a new resource coming our way, or a new way of looking at current resources to kind of aggregate them and make them more powerful? I couldn't quite understand. Naomi, do you have that one?
Yeah, I do. It's more of a, so it's not a curriculum and it's not a program. It's much more of an approach. So it is a way that teachers can ensure that they're really providing a balanced literacy approach in their classroom. So making sure that all the components of literacy are included in that literacy block. And I think it's a way of developing some cohesion among classrooms. What it doesn't do is it doesn't mandate like certain materials or certain texts. And so there's still a lot of autonomy in it that teachers get to implement, but it's more of an approach. And it's actually, it's something that Thoreau has been doing for a few years now. And so we're learning from their experiences. But yeah, it's an approach more than anything. So it's not, yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I think what you're saying is it strengthens teachers to use the resources together in the most effective way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
These overlaps, connections. I think this one for you too, Naomi. Can you speak to Metco Family and Friends? We haven't discussed it at this table recently, but I think we'll soon be discussing what we can do to strengthen our Metco Association. And
yep.
We know that you're instrumental in that. What's happening with Family and Friends?
Well, it took a bit of a hiatus over the past year and a half, just because being able to pair kids up and schedule field trips and play dates wasn't really feasible during the height of the pandemic. But it is rebuilding. It's getting up and running. We had, and this was district wide, but there was a large contingent of Alcott families who were there. We had a family event at Franklin Park last weekend, 2 weekends ago, with really nice turnout. And that was sort of coordinated both with Boston, there were Boston families leading the organization and also Concord families. But really what it is it is a program that pairs a Boston student with a Concord student so that they have sort of a buddy or someone who is a go-to family. But more than that, it pairs the families together so that our Boston families have sort of an automatic connection with Concord families. And sometimes it's used just for like as a point person to ask questions to, but sometimes it's play dates, sometimes it's a place for students to go on the half days. It depends on how that partner sort of uses it, but it's a way of establishing connections between our families.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
I had two questions. So one was just on Orton Gillingham. Are they all special ed teachers being trained? Are there tutors? Are there regular ed teachers? Who's being trained in that? I think it's probably different at every school.
All of the teachers participating from Thoreau are special education teachers.
And the same at Willard.
Mostly the same at Alcott, although my reading specialist also is participating.
Great. And then I had one other question. I think it was for you, Matt, on that extra hour of reading instruction. I should be looking at the camera this way. Sorry. I'm like turning backwards to look at you. It's very awkward. You said you built in an extra hour of reading support. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So this was part of the Ready to Rise program. So there were 24 students that were identified based on a number of pre-assessments. And then they were selected to participate in this program. And the program, we had to find time during the day, but high priority needs, you establish early. And they were 2 30-minute blocks because they're in first and second grade. And identifying these students in different areas, whether it's sound letter correspondence, decoding, fluency, sight words. So each was getting what they needed. And it was based on the pre-assessment data of what each student needed. And based on the work of Wilson, which is the work that they have regularly instruction at Foundations. So they're getting a preview and a review of the Foundations work as well.
And can I just ask, how did you find those blocks? What did they have to give up to be
Yeah, so they didn't have to give up any specials. but it could have, credit where credit's due. Sharon Hain, our ELA specialist, and Patrick Gavane, our reading specialist, would be collecting kids right off the bat as soon as they arrived in the morning. We're cutting into, well, let's have snack down in this neck of the woods. And so it was very creative use of time. We didn't take any time, of course, from specials or lunch or recess. But Tracy, part of the great challenge is to identify and get to these kids early. That's when the best work can be done, when they are still learning to read rather than reading to learn. So the emphasis was on grades 1 and 2. And what we'll be turning our attention to next is in grades 3 through 5. But the work has paid dividends, and we're really excited by what we do next, right? Because this is a 6-week intervention, and then the next challenge is, okay, how do we either increase intensity or duration, or do we release students back and receive tier 1 in the classroom, which could be a double dip by their classroom teacher.
Thank you.
We are talking at all 3 schools about potential before and after school opportunities and maybe even vacations. So there's going to be more to come. They're all talking about the same topics.
And I just have one, I don't know, it's more a comment even than a question, but first of all, these are so spectacularly tangible, specific, and concrete. I cannot express greater pleasure to see this kind of stuff. This is so awesome. That's first. And then my second piece, I look at all of the stuff that you guys are piloting and stuff, and some of the things that you are endeavoring to share with parents, whether I'm looking at the Thoreau specific initiatives about written protocols with respect to interventions, and then implementing procedures for notifying parents. Some of this stuff is applicable to all you guys. It's quite clear to me that you are all collaborative and are friendly with each other and have genuine relationships. So I guess my only plea would be to continue in that spirit and continue to share this stuff, all of this work that you're doing, because it's starting to show and look like it's paying some real dividends. So it's awesome.
And I echo the comments of my colleagues. I would just say that I'm sure this is just, you could probably each talk to us for an hour about just what happened today at a school. Working in a school, I know that it's just being around, is just being in a classroom for a short amount of time. It's just incredible to see how excited the students are to be back and have that full day opportunity to be with their friends, their other students, make new friendships, which I'm sure those went by the wayside a little bit. And I think that they probably really do welcome the structure and routine. Some of them probably are having a hard time dealing with it, but I'm sure that most of them probably love being back in there. So, I know you feel like probably the last 2 months have felt like a year or maybe a minute, but keep up the good work. And we're really excited to see when you get more data. I hate to use that word, but when you've gotten a couple more months to see where things really are. One comment, this is probably more to Dr. Hunter. We're talking about DCAP at the region, at the high school, but we probably need to do one.
Yeah, Kristen pulled up the DCAP for CPS, and we started to look at it. We weren't excited enough as a document to put it in the improvement plans, but it is on the radar.
Good. And then just one other thing is that I think one teacher in another district said we've had enough screens for a lifetime. Are you trying to, I see a lot of your programs are not screen oriented, and you're really focusing on trying to do things that are outside and not screen oriented. Are teachers sort of trying to really be sure to keep that balance now that you are one-to-one? Okay. Yeah, I assume so. They probably don't want to be on screens either. So
no, they don't.
Yeah. The benefit of we did our takeaways from our pandemic instructional years. And one benefit is the ease of having meetings with parents, and for that reason, staff are still very enthusiastic about using Zoom. But then even in our plan, we talk about judicious use of technology, and we are embracing, I'll speak for Willard, more so an opportunity to go outside and do observations of nature than to get on the laptop at any time.
That's awesome. That's all I have. So the four of us. Any other questions or thoughts?
No, great job.
Thank you,
Yes,
guys.
wonderful. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now Chris Reynolds wants to speak.
Mr. Cameron is there when you're ready.
I don't know if Chris, I don't know what she's.
I did.
Okay.
Thank you. Hi, Cynthia. I just wanted to update the Concord School Committee on a couple of things. So we'll meet Thursday to go through the guidelines. So you'll be aware of that. We'll issue them on Friday. In addition, we have a regular meeting on Thursday, and we're going to talk about our update on Envision Concord. So maybe you can, we're going to talk to the committee about it on Thursday, but hopefully I'll get a recommendation from them to share what I've drafted with the select board. So you may want to take a look at that.
I forwarded the packet along to the committee.
I'm sorry?
We just got the packet for your meeting, so I forwarded all the materials to the
Yes, yes, it's in there. Right, great, it's in there. And then we're also going to talk about the process, or I guess the formula, if you will, for how we could reflect the projected savings from the consolidation of the middle school in future guidelines. So that was one of the takeaways from the select board meeting. I think that was in September. So FinCom and the school committee have a to-do on that. So I think, Cynthia, you talked to Mary about that. So we're going to look at that on Thursday in our regular meeting.
Great. Okay.
Thank
you very much.
And yeah, okay, great. And then obviously on the 4th, on November 4th, we have the capital planning meeting where we get together with the school committee as well as the select board. And I'm hoping that at that discussion, we can really focus on some of the financial implications and options to reduce and or smooth the debt load in the tax bill. So things like stabilization reserves, use of savings if possible, maybe the use of some federal funds from either ARPA or ESSER to offset some of the building costs, or looking at the debt term. So I'm going to ask Carrie to do some modeling for us so we can have a discussion about the numbers.
Okay, very good.
And then on the 5th, obviously we're very interested in what comes back from the middle school building committee in terms of cost estimates. And then on December 16th is the date for the special town meeting hearing on the middle school building. So that's a FinCom sponsored hearing on the 16th. So we set that date last night. That was it for me, but I just wanted to make sure you had those updates.
That's a lot of information that we probably needed to be reminded of. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You want to
So we can move
introduce
on to middle school?
Yes, certainly. He is ready and waiting.
Justin, thank you for your patience. Will you be doing a screen share? Does he have that capacity?
He does.
Okay.
I do. Yep. Thank you. So my esteemed elementary colleagues took 15 minutes, so I'm going to try to do a third of that and get through this in about 5. Math there, knowing
Math at 9:30 at night.
Thank you.
Impressive.
It's 9:30 math. That's not a. And I'm really just going to look to highlight things that are different. So this was reviewed by our school council, I believe on October 14th, if memory serves me. And the highlights of the changes under multiple paths to success is really just two that were brought forward by some teacher leaders. One is looking to bring together a grading practice handbook together and bring drafts of the possible new practices to school council. This is a 2-year goal, and a working group of faculty and staff are going to come together in November, so just in a few weeks. And then rethinking end of the year awards. A teacher leader has brought this up, and we're bringing together a group of faculty and staff. And we think we might include students on this one as well, to really just examine and audit the awards that we currently have in place. The new initiatives under well-being is a PBIS initiative that a teacher leader is looking to pilot at the middle school. If you're not familiar with PBIS, it's positive behavioral incentive systems. It's part of a school culture that focuses as much on, and we have a lot of this, of the good that our students bring, and find ways to celebrate that and promote that. Under inclusive culture, we have an ambitious goal to start slowly looking at the practice of restorative justice at the middle school. This is going to be a 2-year goal with a working group coming together in November. Rethinking how to support our families who are new to the Concord, the town of Concord, or even the families who are coming from Boston that use that 6th grade window to come into the district as well. That's a 1-year goal, working group coming together in November. And then we have new advisors to our RISE and GSA, and we're looking to support them this coming school year as well. I don't think there are any new goals from the spring under innovation. Questions?
Well, you've got a big environment project underway.
Yes.
Makes sense.
That's keeping us busy.
Questions, comments? I'll just start off. I see that you did do a survey, challenge success survey, and I assume your committee will dig in a little bit and analyze that data. And then
yep. So we have a committee of parents. So parents signed up maybe about a month ago. We've had faculty and staff who signed up probably late summer, actually. I've had a couple of meetings with our challenge success coach. Our dates are out there. They have been shared to all of our parents and families. Our first official meeting where our challenge success coach will be with us via Zoom is going to be in November.
Great.
And did the middle schools actually do the survey? Did they do the challenge success survey or no?
We did.
You did in the spring. Okay.
Yes.
Middle school is going to get a report to you also by the
Around the
5th
same
or the
timing
9th,
or yeah.
the meeting on the 9th.
Great.
Okay. Anybody else?
I got nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Great job.
All right. Thank you so much, Justin.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's see here. I think we're on to the 5-year projections.
This will only take about an hour.
CPS takes about 5 minutes because it's so much simpler.
Okay.
So I'm just going to skip right to the CTA. So this is information that was presented on Thursday night. We have 223.6 FTEs at CTA. Here is where they all are. Any questions on that? I don't have the totals, the subtotals at the bottom. It can look a little deceiving, especially the CCTA one, but this all adds up to the 223.6. And then for the CPS side, we have 5 collective bargaining units, and here is where they are and when the contracts expire. And just the last slide. This is a lot easier than the, as you can tell, the CCRSD projections. Here are the categories in the increases. We again use the budgeted amount. Looking ahead at FY26 and FY27, we are projecting a savings of $548,000 for the opening of the new middle school. Those are not in these, but in the new figures, we can certainly do that. It would have an impact on obviously 27 as well. And the increases are down at the bottom. In FY24, the reason for the larger than the other years is mainly due to the increase in the CTA salaries that year that we're projecting. Again, all projections. This is only general fund amount. We spend an additional $4,593,890, give or take, in grants, revolving accounts. This does not include the ESSER one-time funds, but everything else. Excuse me.
Questions, comments?
And one of the things I will point out is you do see this early retirement sick leave buyback that is going down each year.
Well, I want to thank you. I know this has taken a bit of work on
Yes.
your part and Ian's, and I think this gives us and importantly the FinCom the clarity they're seeking so that they can meet our numbers with their guidelines, and then we can decide the magnitude of the work in front of us, as will they.
Yep.
And I guess as somebody new to this, I mean, it's definitely an extraordinary amount of work that you've done recently. And I do want to thank you for that, because it sounds like this is something it's never been asked of you before. So I think we have to recognize that as a committee and really appreciate your extra time on this, because we know it is extra time. So thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
I think we should expect that the FinCom might want more of the same in future years. This may not
We
be
have
a-
that.
This may not
Yes.
be a one-off.
Well, now that truthfully,
Maybe it'll be easier next time. I don't
it will
know.
be. This is now built.
It's built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to change, but at least
But you're
you know,
built, yeah.
it's
Yeah.
built. But projections, and no one can look back 5 years from now and say, Jared, in FY22,
They are
you
projections, and the farther out it goes, the harder.
Yeah.
harder that
Well,
makes.
anybody who's done a home budget for a week or a month or a year knows that projections are projections and actuals are not the same.
So in semi-related, I think you heard Chris Reynolds say, we're all getting very interested in thinking of very creative ways to soften the blow of the middle school. And one of those thoughts is that we should go and actually ask for an opinion on how we might possibly use the ESSER and ARPA funds to do not just middle school things, but perhaps buy an electric bus or talk about the solar, or can we encumber those funds to do stuff at the middle school? So I'm happy to reach out to Terry and to Chris Reynolds. I think the select board has a similar line of thought, at least find out what we can and cannot do with those funds.
I think we're obligated to do that. You'll recall 4 weeks ago today, I was rather pointed about this. Should we take some of this money? We consider it to be more than eligible, and could we park a part of it as a small but yet measurable contribution, if you will, or offset toward the future costs? Early answers are yes. Something like middle school will be eligible, and buses may as well. Whether it is or not, I think it's our obligation right now to go sort that out.
How much do we have remaining in those two sets of, or
Yeah.
three sets, I guess, really, right, of
So
relief funds?
pretty much all, after what was, after tonight's portion going to the transportation, but then we've already built
Yeah.
in, we're doing our FY23 budget, and we've already committed to some things.
Yeah, I did bring you recommendations on ESER 3.
Yeah, I remember, yes,
Right.
with like the,
It's
yes,
a larger one.
right, that had all,
That, those are, we could always change our minds on 23.
We had to get the application in, and that.
what was, okay, okay, maybe an easier question to ask, what was the total sum of all three relief funds? I forget. For,
Just under $1
for
million.
CPS.
CPS for ESER 3.
997,
Yeah.
I should know this, right?
It's right in your books.
Give me 30 seconds.
The town is a much larger sum.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I assume that exercise would be done at the town level as well for, yeah, okay.
Is there a version of ESER?
But that they too could allocate. to
Absolutely.
the-
Some
okay,
of their funds, yeah.
making sure.
Oh, yeah.
So it's about $1 million, give or take.
I get
It's,
it right
it's not
here.
5 million. It's
No,
not.
no, no, but the
No.
town is like 7.
Okay.
There it is.
Well, and I guess that, what always concerns me is we still don't have the number yet, right? So
For the middle school.
for the middle school,
But we know
right?
it's not, it's 1 million or so.
100
100
million.
million, sorry.
We
Right,
wish
but
it
we
were a
don't, right, but
million.
we don't know exactly what the number is. So I just get nervous about, we are being asked to find more money, yes, absolutely. But, until we know what the number is,
But
it's
we know
hard
We're
to.
trying, so this is gonna be a horribly hard number on some people in our town. So we're trying to find a way to reduce. it.
Right,
Even
right.
if it's not a significant reduction, I think it's,
When we look at a $1,000 impact times 20 years for the median household, that's not a small amount of money. And if something that we could make available is merely symbolic up against 100 million, well, that's okay.
Mhm.
If we can't be more than symbolic, we can't. But the question is, what can we do?
right.
Mhm.
I just want to find out what we can do.
Can
not what
do.
We will do.
Well, right.
We would obviously come back and discuss it as a committee and the
Mhm.
select board and the.
Yeah.
FinCom
And it would have ramifications to what what has been strategized so far for that
We
money.
did not vote.
There would be trade-offs.
Right.
And there's the amounts, if you can see it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's 112, 379 for ESER 1.
Yep.
ESER 2, 453, and then ESER 3, 995.
So these are unfortunately not significant. To your point, it would be more.
Symbolic, but
Gesture,
that doesn't
yeah.
mean that it's insignificant.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Even if.
But it could be significant impact when you take it out of things we would be doing in the school budget. I know we're not debating it right now, but
But it runs out.
yeah.
It runs out.
Well,
Well,
or
right,
as,
but-
If we
as-
commit to
as
FTEs.
Dr. Hunter said, we
We're on a-
can't build anything in with temporary funds that is a cliff that we're going to then fall off
Right.
later. I thought that was a good metaphor to use.
Mhm.
No cliffs.
No, yeah.
Said to me.
You don't need that,
So
for sure.
it's very clear in the ESER documents, it's an authorized use,
Okay.
including but not limited to new construction.
I just
Cat,
wonder-
the one phrase, which I think you're already naming, and that's going to be the debate you have, is LEAs should consider how to balance construction investments with other priorities
Mhm.
in order to ensure you're broadly addressing academic, social, emotional, and mental health needs of students. So that's
Right, and-
exactly what you just
Right.
started to talk
And I guess, I'm just going back to, kids that have missed, a year, 2 years of reading instruction, if we need to provide services that are temporary, there's not an FTE, but it might be like a before school, after school, for a limited basis, then that would be something that we would discuss versus putting it into a building.
We are
We have
seeing
to.
We have to,
data
yeah.
that is very different than what we're used to seeing in the
Right.
very young primary grades, and that's why you're hearing them talk that way.
Mhm.
K-5 school.
I should say there are things that we are charging, and we'll give you an update to ESER 1 and 2.
Mhm.
So I will give
Yep,
you
you said
that.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
But
So-
3 right now is.
Am I hearing that we do or do not need to consult with the town?
No, I think we do, because I'm not really clear on encumbering funds, like,
Well, is that something that we could expect you and Jared to do with your town counterparts, just to make sure that everybody was on the same page?
I just want to be sure that the elected officials are on the same page before we go off and talk to our,
That they are also exploring
Exactly.
this. Yeah.
Lori, is that reasonable to delegate that toward Jared?
elected and appointed, I should say.
I'd include,
No, I would say I need to go talk to Terry first.
yeah,
and-
totally
Right, I
agreed.
meant town
Yeah.
counterparts.
Yes,
Yeah, I
yes.
think, and I'll talk to Stephen and he'll talk with Carrie.
And
What else?
Well, the what else for me is, let's be even clearer, timelines around this, any requirements that we need to be mindful of?
I think we need to have these discussions as soon as possible.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we would want them
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be
wanna
part of
be-
our
Because
discussions
it
in a
impacts
couple
everything
weeks.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Budgets.
because it impacts resources that you were just speaking of.
Right.
Well, and two, it would be something we would want to probably have some semblance of an idea of when we're talking in our November 5th
Here,
and
here,
12th.
yeah.
And that's like a week.
Mhm.
So, so the dates, remind me, did you write down Chris Reynolds' dates? November 4th?
November 4th is the capital discussion.
Planning
with the
meeting.
Finance Committee.
And that's supposed to be our full committee.
Yes.
Yes.
I got that from her tonight. We had talked about that before, but.
I think the warrant drives some of this too, because the town's gonna need to know what they're doing in the warrant.
Mhm.
Those timelines are coming up as well.
Yeah, I have to go look at when the warrant for regular town meeting opens and closes. I can't
It
remember.
opens next week, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't know that I have a closing date.
Okay.
Off the top of my head.
And then December 16th, you got that. I forgot. I wasn't sure of the dates. I didn't want to bring it up for the hearing.
That is what she said for the
Yeah.
municipal hearing.
I don't know if they have a snow date for that. Probably be Zoom, so I don't think they need it.
So you can do the hearings over Zoom, but not the meeting.
Just town meeting.
Town meeting you can't. Okay.
Um,
And that'll be in the evening, I take it, at their normal time?
The
hearing?
The
Yeah.
town, oh, wait, the hearing, yes.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I would say 7 o'clock.
Anything else?
Well, I want to thank Jared and Lori and our
Mhm.
principals for
Yes,
another
Excellent.
another long night. A lot of preparation to get
yes.
everybody here.
This was worth it.
It's worth
Yes.
it.
I felt.
And, you know,
Definitely worth
throughout
it.
throughout the presentations, I couldn't help but think parents are going to be more than gratified
Mhm.
to get wind of the
Mhm.
clarity of the leadership coming out of the schools.
Yes,
Thank you.
that was
All
good.
really
Amazing
impressive.
team.
It is.
Question.
It is.
Amazing.
So good to see them. Well, if there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
It's not going to be hard.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Anderson, I.
Booth, aye.
Morano, I.
Rainy eye.